This podcast is brought to you by our lovely Anime Addicts community. If you would like to support the podcast, join the community, make some friends, talk about anime, you can go to our Discord, AAAdiscord.com, which is a generally friendly place to be, hang out with like-minded people, make some friends, discuss your hobbies. And of course, if you want to actually get the extra content, our Hobby Addicts, our hentai episodes, and our after parties, you can go to AAApodcast.com/join or Patreon. Support the show, and you'll get all of those exclusive episodes every month to help keep you entertained. And now it's time to start the podcast.
Get ready! You're about to listen to the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast. Make your anime addiction worse at AAApodcast.com. And now, here are your anime addicts.
Run it. What? In the butt?
Hello and welcome. It's the 729th episode of the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast. We're coming at you live 5:10 p.m. EST or EDT. It is hot. My forehead has been revealed. My hair is pinned back.
Wow, you have a forehead.
I do have a forehead.
Holy shit.
Just because I didn't shower. How are you guys doing, Mitsugi?
I'm drinking coffee. I'm feeling good. I'm very happy to be here. We had some nice weather today. Hit the farmer's market. And I'm got some road rash on my leg from crashing on rollerblades. That was fun. So, but
yeah,
it's all...
you mentioned that you've been rollerblading as of late, and I was going to ask, how is that?
Well, I completed day 2 of learning how to rollerblade from basically not even knowing how to ice skate. And I can now very comfortably go straight.
Ooh.
I would say I can stop. Turning is a little hard still. Mason's probably a fucking ace on rollerblades. He's like, I can ice skate.
Let's ask him. Hi,
Fucking
Mason,
plays hockey.
how are you?
He definitely can rollerblade. Come on.
Yes, I can rollerblade
very well.
circles
probably.
and squares around you. I'm just
Probably.
thinking,
Sure.
There's probably a poor farmer out there who went to a farmer's market thinking he was going to get farming equipment and was severely let down.
Boo. Was that a dad joke? Come on.
Yeah,
man.
probably.
Oh, no, my boss,
just came to me, I'm
boss
like-
at work would love that.
Man, sad. But no, rollerblading's pretty cool, but stopping is difficult, especially when you get the hockey roller skates or rollerblades because they don't have like a little pansy brake pad in the back heel. You just got to brake like a man by falling down.
I don't actually trust those little brake
Yeah, they fucking
thingies
suck.
on the bottom of the shoe.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to trip and fall and, bang up my face.
Yeah,
That's the price of looking cool.
they costed 2 of my 3 crashes yesterday because of that fucking brake. So
Yeah, I just like let myself run out of steam or, go into a wall. Those are my 2 options when I go
There
to
you go.
rollerblading or ice skating.
I'm working
Do
on
you
the
have the
T-stop.
cool like wrist guards on? Do you have those on?
No, I have a bike helmet
What's
though.
your safety equipment? A bike helmet? That
nothing.
ain't gonna do you no good.
Nothing, just a helmet.
Gonna do a little good, I think.
Man, I got thrown over my handlebars once going downhill on a mountain bike course, and landed on some rocks. I got thrown like 30 feet and landed on my back. There's nothing a rollerblades can do to me that hasn't been done before. So if I die, I die. Fuck it. Anyway,
This is the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast where we talk about anything but anime, mostly food. But today we are going to talk about anime. We're going to be talking about anime that we're avoiding for some reasons, and we'll get into that in a little bit.
My God.
After that, we'll get into the Apothecary Diaries, the review that I'm actually kind of dreading because I know what Mitsugi's gonna say. I know what he's
or
gonna
maybe it's all a charade. Just maybe.
say. Oh.
It's the review we've been avoiding.
Yeah.
That's it. All right, so shall we talk about listener choice for this season?
I was very unsurprised by listener choice this time around. It was very predictable. I think we pretty much called it. So listener choice, every time we finish doing our impressions of a current season, we let the listeners pick 3 anime for us to do reviews on that we haven't already chosen ourselves. The second runner-up, or I guess second least loser, is How to Love Your Elf Bride, 12.6% of the vote. I know
nothing about this show,
we did.
It involves an elf.
We did discuss it, and I think you said that on the Discord. People have mentioned it, and so
yeah, like one or two people have mentioned elves, an elf bride,
Yeah.
and other than that, that's all I know.
people love their elves and they love their waifus. So yeah, fourth place and was in third place for much of the poll. Salad Bowl of Eccentrics for first runner up with 16.2%.
I can't believe it. It was
I
so
think this is
close.
one of the ones you were thinking was going to make it, right, Caroline?
Yeah, and once Mitsuki says what's next, it was so close.
I think that it had it on the Discord, but when it went up on socials, I think it started to fall behind.
Damn
So that's
social
that's what happened, I
medias.
think. Yeah, they tend to have different ways of thinking. So now, number 3,
Number 3.
our first anime we will be doing a review on is Bartender, with 19.8% of you voted for it. So, I mean, it's fine. You know, it's an easy watch. Just lay in bed and watch it, fall asleep. But really, this listener choice was really about 2 anime. The top 2 were way in front of all the others,
Number 2.
with 38.7%, a jump of almost a full 20 points. Windbreaker. So I think we predicted that. We knew that was coming.
Yeah, I'm actually only surprised that it's not in the number 1 spot.
Yeah, me too.
More so than it, getting past it all. But no surprise. That'll be fine.
And
I think
number
you'll enjoy
1,
it, Mitch.
the ultimate winner,
Number 1.
the anime that makes you pop a boner more than any other.
Why?
Train to the End of the World, with 43.2%. Nearly half of you voted for that. So, there we go. We will be doing reviews on Bartender, Windbreaker, and Train to the End of the World, all of which I think we failed already.
Yeah, I failed 2 of those, the top 2. So I just have,
I
don't
felt
know, something.
but so I guess I don't have any right to complain.
Well, you got the 4th place one.
I know, but that
So.
means literally nothing, and in fact, that hurts more.
So that's listener choice. Thanks to everybody who voted. I've closed the voting, obviously, and we will see you when we get to the summer season. So, Caroline,
Yeah, if you're upset, only yourself to blame.
are you ready for big news of the week?
Wait a minute. Let me get ready. I'm ready.
What the fuck? That was funny.
大ニュースです。
I try.
It's time for big news of the week.
All right. I have no drops for this. I feel like I really should, but Adult Swim announces Toonami Rewind block with Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z Kai, and Naruto. So, I think I have... I know I have... once upon a time, we were all little kids. I was 12 years old, 12-year-old Mitsuki, when the Toonami block first started in 1997. And it went for 11 years. I mean, that's a long time. And lots of little kids rushing home to watch Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And whatever the fuck else they had. Ronin Warriors and some other stuff. Gundam Wing. Well, now they're bringing it back. So this block will be starting at 5 p.m. with Sailor Moon, which I think is kind of how it was before, as I recall. And then we'll go right into the big brother of Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z, from 5:30 to 6:30, and wrapping it up with Naruto from 6:30 to 7. So they really are... Oh, and they're going to use classic older Toonami music and some of the old branding and marketing materials that have been kind of up-resed in HD for this anniversary thing. So I think it's awesome. I don't have cable. I'm not going to be able to watch it, but I think it's awesome that they're restoring the Toonami block that basically started everything. And personally, I credit this Toonami block from 1997 with a lot of anime's popularity for amongst older people in the United States. There were more than a few people watching shonen anime after school for a long time. You guys have any thoughts on this?
That sounds pretty cool. I mean, I wasn't of the era to watch anime on TV, mostly because I started watching anime when I was in college. So, but I did, watch Sailor Moon as a kid, probably not on Toonami or anything. But it's pretty cool, and especially since as you said, they're bringing back some more of the classic style of even just like their advertising and all that. I think that's really cool because I feel like a lot of channels and things like that, they don't really take advantage of the nostalgia value that it could have. So yeah, even I would be a little bit tempted to watch it. And I actually saw an ad for the new Toonami block, and it sound pretty cool.
So when they say like older packaging, that's for like the Toonami like entrance and exiting of the shows, right?
You
Like
know how
I
they
want them to have classic commercials. I want them to be advertising Furbies. I want to be advertising Mummies Alive. I want to see
That's
some
funny.
Spice Girls. I want to see some Tamagotchis. Like I want that as part of the whole package. Like
So, all right. So I have a comment
that's
about
what they
that.
should do.
So I think what they're referring to is like
The Tom or whatever. that
Tom
character
coming
is.
in and the
Yeah.
the CG spaceship and all that, and then sometimes they do like the monologue where they have a voice actor and it'd be like space, the frontier that all man seeks to achieve, and they're like showing clips of like Outlaw Star and all this,
Yeah.
and with the music. So I don't know if they're gonna do that also, but I will tell you that if you want to see Toonami as it originally was, I'm going to give a shout out here to a YouTube channel, which we don't often do, but there's a channel called Rinse Repeat, and I linked them in the show notes, that has recorded and uploaded full 8-hour blocks of original Toonami with the full original commercials and everything in there.
Hell yeah.
So if you want to watch original Toonami with the original everything, it's on YouTube in large fucking chunks that will last you a whole workday. So you don't actually have to watch. You don't have to be without your original commercials, and which is for like Hungry Hippos and the most ridiculous shit. And
Hit clips, these mini boom boxes. I'm just going through it now. Oh my goodness, so much good stuff.
Rinse Repeat is the YouTube channel. I'm sure they could use more followers. It is really cool. The quality sucks, but I mean, you're watching something that's like 25 years old now. Fuck my life. So
Who would have thought that we'd be wanting commercials in some shape or form?
they're so bad, Caroline. You'll watch some of these commercials. They're like,
Whoa. I'm on this Rinse Repeat Guys channel right now, and at
Yeah.
the 6-hour, 26-minute, 27-second mark, we got
Yeah.
a commercial for Lots and Lots of Trains, which is a 2-tape set special TV offer where you can learn all about trains just really slowly going by on video. I'm sold. I'm in. I want this.
What about like those really elaborate and crazy piggy banks that like make sounds
my
and stuff
God.
like that? And we'll throw in a gold dollar coin while you're at it.
Oh my god. Oh man. So yeah. So that's cool. Toonami's back. No one's gonna watch it on cable, but you can watch it on YouTube. So.
Nice. Well,
Well,
I didn't really see anything that really interested me, so Mason, go ahead.
Well, and that's just fine. Mason, what do you got?
I got just more speculative stuff. I got the manga back here, but a project for a listing of the manga Sakamoto Days has appeared amongst the Netflix upcoming releases for 2024. So if you don't know, Sakamoto Days is a super fun manga about this retired hitman who goes into just the family life and kind of becomes portly and manages a shop and kind of gets brought back into the world, even though he doesn't want to. And it's a gimmick you've seen 1,000 times before, but I think it's really well done. I'm excited to see an anime of it. However, this listing for Netflix does not specify if it's animated, if it's live action, or if it is even associated with this manga Sakamoto Days. It just says Sakamoto Days. So who knows what we're getting. But if we do get this, keep your eye out on it. I think it'll be really good and really fun. Additionally, with this, One Piece Season 2, which I presume is the live action, is listed for Netflix's 2025 and beyond. So I think, as we all knew, more of it's coming. So if you like the live action, stay on the boat because it's going to keep on going into the future. So, yeah, Netflix getting some big gets, maybe, hopefully, if it's what we think it is, and that's it. That's all I got. Not as cool as Toonami, though. Toonami was a vibe.
Wow, nothing's as cool as Toonami. I mean,
You just like it because Tom was voiced by Bloom, right?
he definitely was
Wasn't he?
voiced by. Yep.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
so cool.
So cool, and honestly, they just had a way of picking really good titles for Toonami. I mean, it was Dragon Ball. Hold on a second.
Wasn't like Full Metal Alchemist in there too?
Say it properly, Caroline.
So
What do
the
you mean?
on the
Full Metal Alchemist.
Oh, right. Full Metal Alchemist.
There we go.
so the
Sorry,
original
thank you.
so the very original Toonami didn't even have anime on it really. It did a Robotech. Robotech was on the original Toonami back in like the late 90s. And they also had Thundercats, which is obviously anime as well. They didn't actually get an anime that you would think of as anime until in 2008, which is when Sailor Moon started. Johnny Quest was on there for a long time, and then Dragon Ball Z made its appearance in 2008. But for a while there, eventually they had Gundam Wing on here, and I think that's really when it got like spicy. So, but I mean, they've had at one point they had Sailor Moon, Ronin Warriors, Dragon Ball Z, and Gundam Wing, and I think that's got to be like the heyday right there. I was 14 when that happened, when that came out, because that is a fucking strong lineup of shows. And then they started adding other stuff like Rurouni Kenshin, Trigun, Cowboy Bebop. Like they just started throwing some spicy good shit in there. And don't sleep on like Zoids. Zoids was dope. Tenchi Muyo was in there. Reboot. Anybody remember Reboot?
No,
Nope. Neither
is the
of you
answer.
remember Reboot. I'm so
I mean,
No.
again, I'm a
What
latecomer
is that?
compared to you guys.
Reboot.
So
Yeah, and the block got longer and longer because it was so popular. So it started off as fairly short, and then by like 2000, it was Sailor Moon, Reboot, Dragon Ball Z, Gundam Wing, Tenchi Muyo, and Powerpuff Girls for basically 3 hours. So pretty wild stuff in there, and obviously Dragon Ball was on that block for like many years. So
Yeah, Reboot always scared me. Like I saw the commercials for it, and I was like, "No, thank you,
well, it looked
sir.
like
May
ass.
I not have another?" Oh, it looked so bad. It
Oh,
was
yeah.
nightmare fuel, just
Super
like the
fucking
Furbies.
bad. But yeah, pretty cool stuff. So I'm happy to see it. Oh yeah, and then Outlaw Star came on in 2001, and that Outlaw Star is sneaky good. People don't ever talk about that anime, but it is definitely a lot of fun. Outer space anime are so fucking cool. So okay, main topic. So this was actually a mailbag that we converted into a topic. Sejinther, who submitted a ton of mailbags, thank you, wrote one here that we thought would be a pretty good main topic, which I titled Anime We're Avoiding. The mailbag read, after finally getting stuck into the 7-course buffet that is One Piece, I was wondering what is the series that you've always wanted to check out but either got scared off for reasons or kept putting back or kept putting back for other things. I bet Caroline has a bunch.
I do.
What shows are the addicts procrastinating about watching the most? In other words, shows you know are good but have not had the motivation to watch. So we each have a pretty good list here. And
This topic reminds me of when we did our anime sabbaticals.
yeah, it's a little similar.
Yeah, it's similar, but we're busy with this show, both watching the shows for it and just producing and getting ready for it. So yes, things take time, and a lot of times we just don't have time to watch all the shows we want, and that's kind of where that anime sabbatical, I think, derived from. This is more of like, there's also other reasons that we've kind of been not getting around to shows.
Yeah.
But no, you're completely right.
So I'll go ahead and start us off as just give the example. And for each one of these, I included why I want to watch it and why I haven't watched it. So then I think that's really the key. There are good reasons why these things haven't been watched, and I'm going to go through that. Starting with old Miyazaki and Takahata stuff, just at large. And there's a lot of this content out there. Panda Go Panda, like I'm trying to think, like Gouch the Cellist. Like there's all sorts of these old shows. Heidi
That
of the
movie is
Alps.
so good. You should watch that. Mitz.
So
They have animals and they play music. Oh my goodness, it's so good.
So the reason why I want to watch this is because of brand loyalty. I really view the Ghibli, Miyazaki, Takahata thing as a brand. It has its own style, like it looks its own way. Everybody knows Miyazaki's like, I don't fucking know, Leonardo da Vinci of anime or something. I'm supposed to love everything that these guys have made, and I more or less do. But the really old stuff just seems super little kid like. If you go back and look at the stuff from the 80s, which is really 80s and 70s, which is really what we're talking about here. And really, I guess 70s, because in the 80s it was mostly Ghibli. You're going to get stuff like The Adventures of Tom Sawyer and Rin Tin Tin and, just like really basically just fairy tales and classic literature adaptations. And a lot of these shows like Panda Go Panda, Heidi of the Alps, they just come off as being a little bit for kids, and that's the only reason I haven't watched them. Once you get to Ghibli, you're watching like Nausicaa, who's like blowing people's arms off and shit, and then you get Totoro, which is kiddie, but it appeals to a wider audience, and the production is great. And then you get Kiki, and then you're off to the races. And Castle in the Sky has a lot of like violence. There's definitely people dying in Castle in the Sky. I mean, there's no doubt, and a lot of fighting. So I don't know. That's the reason why I haven't watched any of these, is just because they just seem like I should have watched them when I was 8, basically, and that's about it. There you go.
Well, going into my first one on the list, I put down Berserk. For obvious reasons, it's probably
old
one
one?
of the most. I'm not going
only
for the
one.
crappy one.
Oh, come on.
Why would I go for the crappy
Oh,
one?
I don't know. Completionism.
Obviously. But yeah, everybody talks about Berserk as one of the most well-known gory anime that there is. And, I should probably delve more into the classics. As many people know, I don't really have that many under my belt. And yeah, it seems like something I would find value in. Maybe enjoy is the wrong word, because it is kind of a tragic anime type. But yeah, I also know that it's not fully adapted and will also never be fully written because the writer passed. So I don't know if I should even, invest my time into watching the anime. Like, I've thought about reading the manga, and maybe that would make me feel like a little bit more, like, a little bit more, like it's worth my investment. But yeah, even then, I just said it's not fully adapted, or it's not fully written, and I feel like that's a silly reason to not read it. But
I mean,
yeah,
your comments are fair. I mean, why would you want to watch something that isn't done?
yeah, but people have still said that it's worth your time.
It's fucking excellent, but it is, and it's not that long, and it goes fast. I mean, it's hard to put down. I've told this story before, but there's been a couple times during this podcast where I need like a clip, like an audio clip or something, and I'm looking for it in Berserk, and I'm like looking for it. I wound up watching like 4 episodes. Like I intended to be there for like 10 minutes, and I spent like an hour and a half watching Berserk, because it is that excellent.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it's not done, and they hardly adapt. As far as I know, only the Golden Age arc in that original, and it's not. I'm told not that much of the story. So yeah, I mean,
about the journey. It's about
and it's
the
also
journey.
pretty long, isn't it?
It's 26 episodes.
Or no, I'm talking about the manga.
The manga is sizable just because there's a lot of volumes, but a lot of it's just really beautiful art with not much dialogue.
Yeah,
so
yeah, this is a guy that spent a year on every volume of manga because it's like, truly a passionate item for him. So,
but if I were
that makes
to
sense.
read it, would I just be constantly sad? Do I want to be
no,
constantly sad?
no, it's
This shit's depressing.
this is not like a Blood Meridian story. Like, there's peaks and valleys, there's ups and downs, and it's so beautifully told. And there's a lot of good stops along the way. Like, each arc kind of has enough of a conclusion where if you're like, you know what, I'm good, like, you can get off the ride, or you can get back on for another cycle around the death merry-go wheel. So it's up to you. But it's
yeah, I mean, I think it's still on my list that I would feasibly get to and with probably reading the manga. I think that's what I would do. But even so, I don't really like read a ton of manga, so it's a possibility. But it's still one of the things that I have had on the list for a long time and I've never gotten to.
I think at the end of this topic, we should do look at each other's lists and say, hey, if you had to watch one of these shows, do this one. I feel like
We can do
Berserk,
that.
just for how often we bring it up and how just ever present it is in anime like conversation.
Yeah, yeah. Although at the moment, I am trying to spend my free time watching the sequels of shows that I have not gotten.
There's sequels.
Like right now,
better
no,
watch
but right
new
now I'm
stuff.
trying to finish Fruits Basket. I watched 2 seasons of the new Fruits Basket and I stopped for some reason. So now I'm finishing it. Like that's
Okay,
my
that's
that's
fair.
my
You're
goal right now.
close.
So that I'm trying to cull the season or sequels that I've never gotten to.
That's fair.
So your turn.
I know this one is also on Mitsugi's list, so he can help add this
Yeah.
on whatever he wants. But the
Yeah.
first on my list, probably because it hits so many of the reasons why I've been procrastinating it, is Kingdom. For one thing, yes, it is long, over 140 plus episodes across what, 5, 6 seasons by now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um,
Getting longer.
it's not over yet, so like it's still coming out, which is obviously makes things more daunting. And the thing is, you look at seasons 4, 5, whatever on, they have amazingly good scores. And they're always like ranked in like the top 50 of all anime. But I'm always conflicted if that's really just an uptick in quality compared to the first couple seasons, or is it just everyone who didn't like Kingdom has been filtered out, and all that is left are the ride or died fans who love it, and that's why it's getting such good scores. I know some people complain about the CG. It looks kind of wonky. It doesn't have the pristine majesty and beauty of something like Berserk. But I feel like if it's going on for so long and it's such an epic manga and anime, like there's probably something there I would enjoy. It's just too much for me to invest in right now. So, what do you think, Mitz?
Well, the reason why, so we actually, Pancake and I actually tried to watch this during the pandemic. So I think we've seen about 7 episodes of this. And the primary reason why we didn't continue watching it was because of the CG. And because in the beginning, it's very silly. So there's a lot of really silly enemies that, I don't know, just sort of don't feel like they fit very well.
Mm-hmm.
And especially for an anime that's supposedly loosely based on like historical, wars and conflict. So I do think that it's interesting. I want to watch it. Obviously, the reviews are great. The anime or the manga is like royalty, basically. Like I feel like this is in like the top 10 manga ever by people's ratings type of deal. So it's very tempting, but as you said, it's super long. It's really rough CG at the beginning. Like I feel like you're gonna have to get through at least a season and a half until it starts to look better. And
Okay, because this is honestly just like what I heard about Golden Kamui. It's like, oh, it's historical, it's kind of silly. There's a weird CG animal that's really bad, and I'm like, I watched it. The CG wasn't that bad, but if it's like a recurring staple of how the show looks for episode after episode, that makes sense.
So yeah, I want to watch it, but right now it's a little tough. So, we'll see. I don't know. It's our voice actor lady of the show. It's Yudi's favorite anime apparently. So, I should watch it just for her. So I'll skip Kingdom
Well,
on
you
my.
tried. I think you gave it a fair shot, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean we watched it for a couple hours. I mean it's COVID. Like what the fuck else do you have to do?
Yeah.
You have nothing to do.
So, I mean, I feel like after watching it for a couple hours, you've given your time.
So this next one Caroline has on her list, so we can kind of piggyback here. But my next one is One Piece. Obviously, it was going to be on this list. Why do I want to watch this? Well, it has an obvious hype train. A bunch of people around me are slowly starting to watch this. My wife is like 20% through the manga or something. She's watched the live action. We both agree that the anime looks horrible. And some of her friends on the Discord are reading and watching One Piece. So sometimes you want to be in the flames, like you want to be in the meta, like you want to be doing what other people are doing. So I mean, if when a new video game comes out, like like Stellar Blade came out, right? And everybody's like losing their shit. Oh my god, oh my god. It's like a 9.4 on Metacritic. Everybody wants to play Stellar Blade. And it's like, I didn't buy Stellar Blade because I had other games to play at that time. But if I did buy it, it would have been because I want to be in the meta so I can like talk to people about it while they're playing it. Because when I get to Stellar Blade in like 8 months or something, no one's going to give a shit. So it is kind of nice to watch something where so many people around you are also watching it, because then you can talk to them about it and whatever. And I generally do love shonen, but this motherfucker is long. The character designs are just hideous to me. Honestly, one of the ugliest character designs I've ever seen in anime. And I'm just stubborn. So honestly, that's part of it.
I feel like that's a lot of the reasons why people, whoever has not watched One Piece and will not watch One Piece, those are the reasons. The character design, I mean, the pacing of the show, from what I've heard, and also stubbornness. Like, the more that somebody tells you to do something, the more you don't want to do it. And that was basically me. And then I watched the live action, and I thought the live action was so good. And it kind of made me want to get into it a bit more. Again, with the manga, because I've heard that's a superior way of experiencing it due to the pacing of the anime, and also how the anime's animation can be hit or miss. But I wasn't totally like on the whole like character design thing, because I think I could get used to it. But then I saw the characters in a post-time skip, and they all have the gigantic necks and like the big bulky bodies and the necks. I can't get over the neck. I don't know if I can get past that.
For me, it's
here's the problem with One Piece, though. A lot of like games or shows, they come out and they're really hot and really popular, and you're like, oh, I should watch it, and you just don't, and it kind of fades away, and you're like, I guess I didn't really need to, and then you kind of drop it. One Piece is just, it'll fade out and then fade back in, and it constantly has these waves of so hot right now. So every time you're like, oh, maybe I should pick it up, you're even further back. So the best time to start One Piece was yesterday, but the second best time is today. So every moment you wait, you're falling further and further behind. So you probably should just do it, is what I'm saying.
I don't think I have enough time to even. I don't.
Yeah.
I think I'll probably die before I catch up.
You just start marching on that treadmill, and you watch 2 episodes of a little training session. You'll be up to date.
he's not wrong.
When you're dead,
I need a focus on the treadmill. I'm like trying to not die on the treadmill. I can't be
download
watching
One Piece.
anime.
Don't watch One Piece. Watch One Piece. That'll get you flying up to speed. You'll be dandy. You got this.
So
you know what? I think I just want to look at, all of the character designs, and to say like before time skip and post time skip, say glow up or glow down is probably mostly glow down.
Is it, dang, you're looking good, or what are those? That's my body.
And just
what are
talk
those?
about how crazy they look. But yeah, I think I might. There's still a possibility I might give One Piece manga a try, especially if they have the sequel live action coming out, because I've already been sunked into that. So, yeah.
I don't think I would be able to watch One Piece just because I don't have enough time to do. I have so many hobbies, it's fucking comical at this point.
I don't have enough hobbies, but you know what I do love to do is like sit and stare into the abyss and waste my time.
Yeah.
That is how that is my hobby, and somehow I just never have enough time in the day to do anything except that.
I will say that the treadmill thing is real. I got through Slam Dunk in no time on the treadmill.
Well, yeah, but I need to focus on my fitness. It doesn't come naturally like some.
But treadmills are so boring.
It is boring,
like,
but
you're never gonna survive on a treadmill without entertainment.
I also don't do dubs, so. There's no way I can.
Well, you can watch the sub while you're walking. It's not an elliptical. You're not bouncing up and down. Anyway.
Yes, I am. I'm running. That's what you do.
I do lists. I just walk uphill. Anyway. Caroline, you can go to your third one here on your list since you already did One Piece.
Sure. Similar to One Piece, Bleach. Well, when I got into anime, that is all I heard about was Naruto, One Piece, Dragon Ball, and Bleach. I went through Naruto. We've already discussed One Piece. There was no way I was going to watch Dragon Ball. And so Bleach is the one that I just never got to. Yeah. But then at the same time, I heard that, I won't say what the spoiler is, even though I feel like 99% of our fans probably know what it is. After that point, it just goes downhill. And then Thousand Year Blood War comes out, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, Bleach, it's so good!" Blah blah blah. So that made me feel like a little left out for a second there. But then I remembered, do I really want to watch Bleach? And now everybody that I talk to, except for the specific Bleach fans, say probably not worth your time. So that's kind of where I left that.
Well, that's not a ringing endorsement, is it?
No, not really.
That shit's
Do you
fucking
guys ever
long.
watch Bleach?
No. Bleach was big when I was in college, and I was first getting to college. And I watched a few episodes of it, but it's, for whatever reason, never kept watching, and it's very long. So, I mean, you got hundreds of episodes to get through, and they're still coming out. So, I don't know.
I did like the opening, though. That's the one thing I
Which
did
one?
get.
There's so many.
The
Yeah,
first
exactly.
opening. The first opening.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I tried a bit of Bleach back in the day. Wasn't for me. I watched a bit of Thousand Year Blood War just to see what all the clamoring was about, and I'm like, yeah, pretty good for Bleach. I'm 700 episodes of not knowing what's going on, so I'm not going to continue. But yeah, I'm not a shonen boy. It's not my thing.
Yeah.
So I can't vouch for it.
I think the main thing is like power scaling. Like I love shonen, but if it just gets wild and out of sorts, I don't know if I can watch it.
I feel like they all do eventually. It's like video games, always, like cell phone games, they always have like a power ramp so you stay interested, and it's not any different with shonen, so. Mason.
All right, Mason.
This next one was purely a time thing. I have no good excuse for not watching this besides the fact that it's just long. And that's Major, the baseball series. There's
super
quite
good.
a few anime baseball stories. You got this, you have Diamond to Vase, all that kind of stuff. And it seems like Major is like the one to watch.
It's the best one.
Of the batch. And I love sports shows. I would love to see a really good one, and this is definitely fits the cards. I definitely trust baseball's depiction of baseball versus how they do some other sports. So I'm all in on what Major could be. I just haven't done it yet, and it's just length. But Major is on the top of my queue, and you might not think it. I have a pretty small plan to watch list. I do not have many shows that I haven't given a shot to before dropping. So, but for some reason, I just haven't done Major, and it'll be soon though. One of these days I'll do it because I know Mitz, you've talked highly of it. So
I think I've
got to do it.
I think I've seen about every baseball anime that exists. I know that sounds hyperbolic, but I swear I think I've seen close to 20 baseball anime, I think, at this point, and this is the best one. And second best is probably
1 ounce.
1 ounce. 1 ounce is so good, but it's not really real baseball.
It's not baseball. But it's so good.
But it is good. I'd say the second best one is probably a Big Wind-Up, because a Big Wind-Up gets more into the strategy, and they spend very it's like they zoom in and they give you this granular look at like the sport. So like a game takes 5 episodes, but they're granularly giving you like the strategy and everything else. And of course, Good as Any gives you a lot of like the behind the scenes. But yeah, Major's really good, but you're not wrong. It's like 200 episodes. So
Yeah, and it's not like it's a straight shot. Like it's in seasons, like Kingdom. So I could, if I was a logical person, be like, oh, it's only 12, 23 episode chunks at a time, and just, make my way through it. It's no rush. I don't need to finish it tomorrow, but I see the big picture. I zoom out and I see all those episodes, and I'm like, that's time.
Although it's funny you mention watch lists, because in preparing for this topic, I was forced to look at my watch list.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
Uh-oh.
How many do you have?
Well, here's the thing. Back when I was first watching anime, I was just adding pretty much anything and everything onto
Answer
my
the question.
So originally, because I did some culling, originally I would say I probably had like 40 to 50 anime on my watch list. Just random shit, like things I don't even remember why I even thought I would want to watch it. Then some shows that I probably talked about in my anime sabbatical topic, like the shows that I thought I should watch for the sake of history of anime and just topical knowledge.
Yeah.
That I decided to take off because I knew I wouldn't like it. Like some mecha shows, I know I don't like mecha. So I'm
Oh,
gonna take it off. I now my watch list is only shows that I can see myself watching at some point in time. And I'm proud of that. So now it's down to like 20. But
That's
even
not
so,
bad. That's really
even
good.
so, I think my watch list is cursed. Like once something gets put on my watch list, I never pay attention to my watch list, and I don't
it's a graveyard.
go back to it. It's a graveyard, yeah.
Where shows go to die. I have 2 shows on my plan to watch list that are even out. Everything else is just like it's a placeholder for coming out eventually. And I'll talk about those 2 shows.
I have 3
Ooh.
on mine.
Nice.
Really,
That's good.
Really, I only have one that's a full-length anime, and it's Skullface bookseller Honda-san.
What a goodie. You
But
probably won't like it though. You don't
that's-
like comedy. You'll
Pancake
find it
would like it.
boring.
Yeah, I don't know why that's gonna. I don't even know why that's on there, honestly. And I thought there was gonna be like 100 of these, but there's a lot more on my drop list. I was only 5. Yeah. So,
My drop list has gotten significantly longer thanks to our impressions.
Ah,
Good.
on-
There's no shame in dropping it. People need to realize some shows aren't good. In fact, I think almost 400 of them aren't worth watching. So it's okay.
I've got
What's next though?
I've got 19 in my on hold list.
What
So-
what are you on hold for? What do you plan to come back to?
None of these. Honestly, there's a lot of hentai in here.
Drop them. Drop them.
I got Agent Aika, Inuyasha, Bakemonogatari.
Drop them. Just
you know,
drop them.
Bleach, Bible Black. Bible Black. I think I've actually seen most of that. Anyway, whose turn was it?
It's yours?
Oh, my turn.
It's
Okay,
yours,
so
yeah.
my next one is City Hunter. So this anime has pedigree. I mean, people know City Hunter. It's big. It has live action TV shows. It has movies. It's a long series. It's considered a classic. You'll still see it in Japan occasionally. So, and crime drama and action shows are great. I love a good crime drama, a good action show. Perfect. The opening for City Hunter is fucking insane. I mean, it's one of the best ever, probably. I can just watch. That's an OP I will never skip because it's that fucking good. But I haven't watched too much of City Hunter. I've watched maybe 8 episodes because, one, it's really silly. And Rio is hit or miss in this. He makes Lupin look like he's saving himself for marriage. That's the difference in perversion between Lupin. And Lupin is a pervert, But Rio will get on his back and slide under a table to look up a girl's skirt 14 times in an episode. And I'm like, and it's not that I'm turned off by his lecherousness so much as I am. It's just goofy. And to me, something about that just conflicts with the seriousness of what's generally happening. Also, I just keep falling asleep watching City Hunter. I put it on at night when I'm in bed, and I'll get through 8 minutes, and I'm asleep. So, I don't know. It's not really a great way to watch an anime. But mostly 160 episodes or whatever the hell that thing is. It's just really long to be pretty much entirely episodic. It's just too much. I mean, good lord. Who can get through that much episodic stuff without a story to keep you going? Most people are like, ooh, I want to know how the story ends. Oh, plot twist. Oh, they got to wrap up these loose ends. There aren't any loose ends in City Hunter that I've seen. It's just episodic stuff. A lot like Lupin the Third was back in the day, and it's just tough to get through, honestly. So I mean, but I do like Rio's design, and I love the aesthetic of the anime, but it's just too long and too silly. Have you seen City Hunter, Mason?
A couple episodes and pretty bounced off it hard. It was like you said, not my vibe, not my style of comedy. I love the aesthetics of it and the what it's going for, but man, I just was annoyed by it.
It's too
so
silly. Yeah, it's weird.
I dropped that.
Caroline getting down her list here.
Cool opening though.
Very cool. The song is
Very
next
cool.
on my list is Anohana. So for similar reasons why for one of the reasons why I didn't watch Berserk is because I don't want to be depressed all the time. And apparently Anohana is one of the most depressing shows ever.
I've got a great
No,
one for you. You should try
I wouldn't say
Clannad.
depressed.
Try Clannad After Story.
That's what I was also thinking about when I wrote down Anohana. Is like I also not have seen Clannad, and that is also famous for being
I
depressing.
feel like there's a difference
But I'm
between
also
like
famous for
emotionally
gigantic
sad
eyeballs.
and depressing.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. And like, and I've heard Anohana's good, and I probably would want to watch it. I probably will watch it at some point for Anime Club. That's certainly up Anime Club's alley. So, so I think I probably will wait until that happens and get into it. It's one of those things I just have to, be forced to watch, I guess.
Anohana
That
is
sounds bad.
funny.
I probably will like it. But
Anohana is cool to watch just in that the setup for what it's going to do emotionally is so obvious. Like you see it coming. Like it is the most baby building blocks of like, okay, the sad part's coming up and you see it coming from a mile away. For episodes, you're just ready for it.
it's like
And then it
standing in
hits,
front of a
and you're
truck in the
still
middle
like,
of the road and
yeah.
waiting for it to hit you.
Yeah, you're like, that truck is coming pretty quickly. I'm going to brace myself. But it's still going to hit you hard. And you're like, oh, it is in my feels. It's pretty, it's good.
Yeah, it's a one-day show. I will get to it one day. That's why it's still on my watch list. Yay.
Yeah. So my next one is the only show on my plan to watch list that is out, but I have a good reason for not watching it. And that show is the rest of the Fight Iser series. So Iser 1, which is spelled like ICZER, is this like sci-fi horror Yuri ecchi mecha show from like the late 80s, early
I love
90s
it. It's so
of this like alien who comes to Earth to find like her human counterpart so they can synchronize and pilot this mech to fight off other aliens who are trying to destroy Earth or something like that. It's really an excuse for hot anime babes to kind of kiss each other naked and then fight aliens. It's not great, but good friends of the podcast, Chibi Rob and Beacon. Like Chibi has all these shows at his house, and we watched Iser 1, which is like a 3-episode OVA together. And it was a blast. We had fun. It was just a wild time. So there's 8 episodes to go of this series across 2 other OVA titles. And I promised them that I would not watch the second and third entry without them. So I just need to find the time to finally reconnect with the boys and finish this series because it's been on my plan to watch list now. Let's see. When did I watch the first one?
I think I need to watch this because
it was forever ago.
It's pushing my weird 80s vibe buttons. But I'm confused. So I'm looking up. I see Fight Iser 1.
Yep. And then the sequel is Iser Reborn.
Well, on here I see Adventure Iser 3. Which is also known as Iser Reborn. But what the hell happened?
Yeah.
What happened to number 2?
They just jumped right to it. Maybe, I don't know. And then there's Izelian, which is the next one.
Yeah, they also jumped 5 years.
Who's using the damn weed whacker outside my house? Unbelievable.
So fucking rude on such a nice day.
Yeah, no, they jumped right into Iser 3 from Iser 2. That's how crazy this is. You can't trust the 80s. They don't know how to do anything.
Well, this Iser chick she's hot. I'm all about it.
Oh, it looks like there was an Iser 3 fight, Iser 1 Act 2. So maybe that was like the second half of the first one. You can't trust them. All I know is I got to watch this with the boys, and if they tell me we don't care anymore, I'll just watch it with the Discord as a pseudo replacement. But be on the Discord. If I ever watch it, I'll let you guys know, and we can look at some questionable content together. Sound good?
Googling Iser 1 hentai.
Oh god.
And gay, plenty of it. Mm-hmm.
I'm sure.
But this chick's hot, so there was no getting around it.
It's the era of the poofy hair.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
That's what we're talking about.
I'm down for it. Yeah, I'm here for it every step of the way. Yeah, see, this is like the weird shit that like I keep saying. The 80s, you're not really gonna find an anime like this in the 80s. A Yuri ecchi action mecha horror.
Sign me up.
Yeah, I could just tell you it's 80s off of that. I didn't even need to know anything about the story. All right, back to me here. We're running out of time. I got Sword Art on my list. I'm going to skip that. I've got Full Metal Alchemist on my list, but I'm going to skip that also. And jump down here to Galactic Heroes. So I have watched the new Galactic Heroes that have come out. This anime has such an intense hype train. All-time classic story. Highly rated everywhere. But the issue with Galactic Heroes is that the story is too fast, it's too much talking, and it requires too much focus to keep up with what's happening. So if I put this on at work, I'm going to be lost because I'm going to get distracted for 2 minutes. Someone's going to come into my desk. I'll look back at the anime and I have no fucking clue what's happening because it moves at not to use a pun, light speed, outer space, whatever. Also, if I watch it at home, I'm laying in bed, I'm asleep. I'm going to miss it. I'm going to end up watching the whole damn thing twice because I'm going to have to rewind it over and over again. And to sit down and have to have laser focus as an ADHD person to get through 100 plus episodes of a story that is that fucking dense is really a hard ask. And I honestly don't know if I could do it. I don't know. I mean, I'd have to literally sit down. It'd be almost like how some people are like, well, I'm going to play piano 1 hour a night. And they sit down, they time it, and they make sure they do their thing that they need to do. I'd almost have to be like, okay, 20 minutes after work, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to watch Galactic Heroes and do nothing else for 20 minutes and have laser focus for a whole year, basically, to get through this thing. And it just seems really tough. But I know it's not a particularly good reason. And it's clearly an excellent show, so... That hurt your heart, Mason?
A little bit. I mean, it's understandable, but I always say one of the best feelings in all of Medium is when something gets hyped and hyped and hyped, and you're like, there's no way it's this good. And you finally get around to watching it, and it does deliver it, and you're like, oh, okay, that was pretty good. That's what Legend of the Galactic Heroes is. It seems like a lot, and it seems like they're just talking, it's politics, it's whatever, it's space, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And then you watch it, you're like, I should have watched it sooner. That was good. But luckily, it's timeless. It's one of those stories that is going to hold true as much 10 years ago as it will 20 years from now. So you'll get to it when you get to it, when you're retired, and you can go back and be like, dang, that was awesome. So, I forgive you. It's understandable. Also, the chat was kind of correcting me. I have no idea how to say Iser 1. In Japanese, it's Ikusa.
Ikusa.
So, Ixer, maybe? I don't know.
No, I'm looking at it right here. Ikusa. Ikusa.
Ikusa.
But honestly...
But why do they spell it like that?
Because they don't have Z's in the... Well, I guess they do have Z's, but they don't put a Z. Yeah, they have the Z, but it's not the sound... It's cool. Z's are cool.
So they have...
why don't they just use a K?
They do.
They do have K's.
It's spelled
cool. Why do they sell it with a C?
So here's the reason. So they want to make words that are English sounding or foreign sounding because it's cool, but they don't have the syllabary to perfectly spell that. They don't have a CZ combination in Japanese, and frankly, we don't have that in English either. So we just make up some bullshit and just say we're just gonna not say the C, so everyone goes Iser, right? Japanese has special rules for how they write their katakana. And they change these rules all the time. So they have their ways of doing it based on their grammar rules or language rules. And it's not perfect, but they get close. So
Iser makes more sense. Even if
you just say whatever you want. Who gives a fuck?
You're right. Last thing I'll talk about on my list, Cowboy Bebop. Obvious reasons. I know. It's a big... I know it hurts people.
It goes so
but
quick,
I've never
honestly.
seen Cowboy Bebop. I have seen the terrible Netflix live-action Cowboy Bebop. So that is still the Cowboy Bebop in my mind when I think of Cowboy Bebop. I know that pains you, Mitsuki. But yeah, I have not even attempted to watch
it's more like
Cowboy
this.
Bebop, the anime. Yeah.
Your only knowledge of Cowboy Bebop is that horrible live action. You need to fix this.
Not the only knowledge. Here's the thing.
Fix this immediately.
I was spoiled the ending of Cowboy Bebop.
And
I can't blame anybody for getting that spoiler. It's been years since it's come out.
This Caroline, I'm sorry, but this anime is episodic. There is no ending worth spoiling. I promise.
I don't know.
It's episodic.
There's a certain plot point that was worth spoiling.
Literally, Bebop is like an hour of actual story and then 7 hours of just random bullshit. But it's done so well that it's excellent. So you can't fucking spoil it. It's just, yeah, you know the ultimate spoiler at the end, but the journey to get there is what you're there for in the first place.
I probably will watch it in like a watch party on Discord. Like that's how I watched or ended up watching Steins Gate. So I think that's the next thing for me.
There's also a movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's also quite good. Knocking on Heaven's Door. It's got some excellent music.
Is that like
God? The Bebop music is
sequel, in betweener.
It's in the middle somewhere, but it's not. You don't have to have seen the series. And the Bebop music though is arguably the best music that's ever been. Honestly, God, I don't want to be too hyperbolic, but maybe some of the best music that's been produced for a TV show ever. And I mean live action too.
Thinking about that.
Put like Ozark in there, Breaking Bad, Sopranos, whatever people want to pick. Bebop's music is going to be competitive with any of that shit. I guarantee it. There's no doubt about it. It's worth watching just for the music. And there's probably close to 70 songs in Bebop. I mean, it's got like 6 OSTs. I mean, it's fucking wild. So.
Wow.
Anyway,
it will happen one day, but it is
now.
A point of disappointment for this podcast.
Very disappointed. It's okay though.
And that's also why I haven't seen it, is because I'm
forgive
stubborn.
you. We forgive. Oh well, you know.
Because it is now a meme.
Oh gosh. Honestly, you could just watch the first 6 episodes, and that would pretty much erase your knowledge of the live action, because that's about as far as it got.
And I also know that it kind of hurts you that I have not seen it, so I'm like, ha 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 ha.
Oh well. Whatever hurts Mitsugi is whatever, is good for the goose or whatever.
So if Caroline had to just watch one on her list, would you have her watch Cowboy Bebop or Berserk?
I'm sorry, it's Cowboy Bebop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like that's definitely more of a sin here.
Well, Berserk's not done. You can read the manga. Bebop doesn't really have a manga. It does, but it's not the same story. I mean, honestly, Bebop's one of those weird ones where the anime came first, I do believe, and then the very weird spin-off manga came after. I think that's how that went. So, anyway, Mason, you got one more here to pick from.
Yeah, I just thought it would be funny if everything on Caroline's list she had only seen the live action from, because there is a live action Anohana, there is a live action Psyche K, like that.
Yeah, I didn't talk about.
What do I need to erase?
That's also on there. Yeah.
I'm going to say the rest of the Fate Stay Night series is something that I kind of think I should watch, but I haven't. So I've seen Fate Zero. I've seen that, collection of it, and it was, pretty good. It was decent, but I didn't love it enough to dive deep into the sprawling Lovecraftian tentacle mass that is the rest of the Fate series, and trying to entangle, like, where does this go with the light novel versus the visual novel versus this? How does Carnival Phantasm mix in with Unlimited Blade Works versus Stay Night? Like, it's just frightening to think that, like, you can enjoy it and watch it, but you don't really get it unless you've seen the 17 other spin-offs. And it just is too much a conglomerate that's like a package deal that I don't want to sign up for. So I like the cooking show because that was standalone and that was fine. But the rest of it just is, it seems like too much. Oh, you're not getting the proper experience unless you're all in. And I wasn't so in love with Fate Zero where I'm ready to have that commitment. I'm saying I have commitment issues, but besides that, Fate is cool. And you see the clips of some of the animation, and you're like, yeah, that looks neat. But I don't know if that's enough to sell me on it. So that's why I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, I was also thinking about Fate. I've seen none of Fate, but I do know that it is a massive, massive franchise with very confusing timelines. So I wasn't even going to consider it now.
It also has a very overhyped story where people make you feel like that anime is like the end all be all, but it's really just a battle royale show, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, that's why it's good.
Well, it's good. It is good. It's just, but it's like people make it sound like it's this deep, oh my god, the mythology and the all this, and it's just a show where they fucking summon some
What did
people
we
and they
watch?
fight.
Was it like Babylon or something?
Oh, Babylon. What a time.
There's a bunch of those.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
it's
was
King's
not my
Game. Smoke says it's an extremely polished fucking battle royale show, and that's fine.
Babylonia. That's what I was thinking.
Well, Mason, since I did it for Caroline, if you had to watch one of these for me, it'd be Major. I really think that you should watch at least the first part of it, because Major has a very compelling beginning, and that's an anime that takes you end to end on a character's life, like all the way, every step, every single phase.
And it's
of life.
complete. The manga is done.
It's done. Yep, every phase of life: childhood, elementary, middle school, high school, college, pros, after the pros. It's all covered, and the beginning
down to pooping on your last days in the retirement home. It's just full circle.
That's in there too. That's in there
Hell
too.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay.
That was a good discussion.
Yeah.
And what should Mitz watch?
Oh yeah, what should I watch?
Let's see. I think you should watch probably Full Metal Alchemist.
Have you seen Brotherhood?
No.
I've seen Brotherhood. I haven't seen the original.
You haven't seen either FMA.
Mitz?
No, I haven't seen any of it. Nothing.
You see, I was kind of mixed on Brotherhood. Like, I liked it, but it took me a ton of time to get through, and I feel like I didn't get as much as I should have from it. But it is good, and you might like it, so I will say that. Sword Art Online, you're gonna have to get through a couple seasons of like not so great stuff to even get to the ones that people say are actually good.
Fuck Sword Art Online. Honestly.
Yeah, it's tough, but not as tough as this in-show weekly trivia question.
Pretty tough. Good fucking luck.
Well, yeah, it's pretty tough. What Chinese dynasty is the setting of Apothecary Diaries based on? We'll give you the answer after the news break.
Hey, Anime Addicts, it's Mitsugi, and I'm bringing you your sweet, sweet anime news break. Started off with some smartphone games. Garena Free Fire is getting an anime TV project based after its smartphone game. The production company Kadokawa and the developer Garena announced on Monday that the Free Fire smartphone game is getting an anime. Also known as Free Fire, it's a battle royale game that was released on Android and iOS back in 2017. The game has over 1 billion cumulative downloads. That's insane. And over 100 million daily active users for a game that I've never heard of. This game has collaborations with Demon Slayer, One Punch Man, Attack on Titan, etc. So if you're a fan of Free Fire, by God, it's getting the Puzzle Dragons treatment, and it's coming to your anime. Next up in the news, Hanazakari no Kimitachie is getting an anime as well, subtitled as Hanakimi for You in Full Bloom. This was serialized first as a romantic comedy manga in the Hanato Yume from 1996 to 2004. So this is fairly old. We're digging deep here to get this anime clear back to 1996 with the release date. The 23rd and final volume were published in that year in November, so 2004. This sucker's been done for 20 years. Finally getting some action. In the synopsis, Japanese-American track and field star Mizuki has gotten herself to transfer to a high school in Japan, but not just any school. She wants to be close to her idol, high jumper Izumi. She's going to an all-guys high school and disguising herself as a boy so that she can be near this guy that's a great track star. So, sounds like a rom-com, and if you're a fan of this and older shows, older manga, this is for you. Again, for you in full blossom, as it's called. Next up, the winners of the 48th Kodansha Manga Awards. It's probably to no one's surprise that the shonen category went to Soso no Frieren, which I don't even really think was very shonen, if you want my opinion. The shoujo category went to Kimi no Yoko Gao Miteita from Rumi Ichinose. If you're a fan of shoujo, you might want to check that out. And in the general category, Medalist by Tsurukai Kata. So if you're a fan of manga, Sozuno Frieren, Kimi no Yokagao, and Medalist are the winners of the Kodansha Manga Awards. Usually worth checking these out because they are clearly a little better than most. Lastly in the news, the Ghost in the Shell Arise director is confused by how bad isekai anime are, I guess. So there's an article online talking about how isekai anime have a particular format that they function or they follow, with the very sad and estranged anime character getting run over by a car and then brought into the isekai world. But the director notes that there's a lot of inconsistency between the rules and the world building that follow these characters, and talks about how things like having pop-up interfaces for the character, for only some characters but not others, is inconsistent world building and is something that they would never have put in Ghost in the Shell. And they also note that they may just be getting old and are out of touch with anime, something I feel like I relate with sometimes. But it seems like they agree that the writing in the world building in isekai anime are not particularly good. So this coming from a experienced director, so Kazuchika Kisei. So that's your news for this week. Now, time to get back to the podcast. Hey, Anime Addicts. Well, I bring this message to you every week, but the podcast does need your support. We do our best to keep this show running every week to get you entertained throughout your busy work week. But hey, things are expensive and we need support. So if you want to help out the podcast, do a good thing, get all of our bonus content, you can go to aapodcast.com/join or patreon.com. It does help us out a lot. We do have quite a lot of expenses to keep this thing running, mostly IT-related expenses. But we do appreciate everything you can do for us. If you can't afford to offer any money to the podcast, you could at least tell a friend about the show. But if you do support the show, you're going to be getting our hentai episodes, our hobby addicts, and our after parties, where we do keep you updated on what's going on in hentai. We do get a little raunchy sometimes. And we do talk about what our hobbies are in our personal lives, which usually results in a lot of movie and video game talk. So if you're interested in all that, aapodcast.com/join or Patreon will get it to you. Help out the podcast, and we'll continue carrying you as well.
Hi there, my name is Spike Spencer. I'm the voice of Shinji Ikari and many other crazy bastards. And I am an anime addict.
Story time with Chiaki.
I was on a train in Korea once with one of my friends, and I get an itch in my nose, and I kind of, rub my nose or whatever, and then I sneeze, and blood just goes everywhere, and we're in between stops, and I'm holding my hands over my nose, and there's just blood dripping from my hands.
What the hell?
It's like one of the worst nosebleeds I've ever
Shouldn't
had.
pick your nose so hard.
And then it's like when we get to the stop, when we run out to the bathroom, and I like run in the bathroom, and there's blood all over me, and like all of the girls in the bathroom like flee, and I open up my hand, and it's like a pool of blood in the sink, and
That story wasn't funny at all.
it was awful.
Nobody will ever want to ride next to Chiaki on the train again.
I always have a good story somewhere in me.
Back to the show.
Welcome back to the podcast. When we left you, we had an intro trivia question. Very difficult question today. What Chinese dynasty is the setting of Apothecary Diaries? The Tang Dynasty, which was about 1600 to 1900, or not 1600, the year 600 to 900. China's really old.
It's very old.
It's like 7,000 years of notated history, so. Get out of here, you cat, fucker.
Going back to that drop from Chiaki's story, every single time I hear that drop, I assume that there's going to be like a punchline that she saw a very hot man, and that's why she got a sudden nosebleed.
Going back to the 90s when Toonami was a thing, remember that Tang drink where it had like that monkey advertising it?
I love how
that
we
was
just
cool.
went off into two different tangents.
Yeah, but we'll get to this, but the Tang Dynasty was like, a lot of, like the point of high society in Chinese history, that's kind of one of the points, so that's why a lot of stuff gets based on that, because that's where you're going to get like all your literature and a lot of like poetry and art, like paintings and pottery and shit like that and all that crap. So
Cultural impact.
yeah, period of high cultural influence. Shame they destroyed it all later. The Red Guards and the anyway. But okay, time for mailbags.
It's time for an almighty anime mailbag. Anime.
Mailbag. If you would like to leave a mailbag, you can go to aaapodcast.com/mailbag, or you can go to our main website and just click the mailbag button. It'll take you straight to it. You can submit all sorts of things beyond just mailbags, so, just do whatever your heart desires, I guess. Sajinther, double dip on Sajinther. So many mailbags from Sajinther. So we do appreciate it, though. Hello, fellow anime addicts. Just wondering who you consider your personal hottest babes in anime. The ones, if they pinned you against the wall by your neck, you couldn't help feel a little excited. Oh my. My favorite is Administrator. Not only is she the best villain in Sword Art Online, but she will also fight you completely naked. Oh.
Is that why you want to get into Sword Art Online, Mitsuki?
Of course.
Oh, that makes sense. Read one mailbag.
All right. For me, it's Iria. I fucking love Iria. That 6-episode OVA from the 90s is so cool. Sci-fi. She's hot as fuck. She'll definitely whoop your ass. And I don't know. She's just got that like spunky attitude. I don't know. She's just good character. I'd love to buy an Iria anime cell, but they are a little pricey.
I will mention his mailbag said your personal hottest baddies in the anime, which I first thought was just slang for like, dang girl, you're bad, you slay. No, well, your favorite antagonists, the characters that are evil to some degree.
No, I don't think he was that specific with it. No, but baddies kind of just mean like a super hot, like
I thought it could go
prisoner
either
kind of
way,
girl.
But I took it as like, they're not one of the good guys.
Well, I kind of went with all good guys in my answer, so I hope not.
Well, I assumed it was baddies because then the example he gave was someone who is the villain. But I think
okay, you're right.
Okay. If I have to
I still want to hear your baddies, Caroline. Lay your baddies upon us.
If I have to give a villain, it's going to be that Wasp chick from One Punch Man. I'm all about that.
Well, speaking of One Punch Man, I do have Fubuki on here because she is pretty hot. I also have Yona from Yona of the Dawn. I love her. And also Parona from To Your Eternity. I also love her. But all three of them women probably will pin you against a wall, ready to kill you in specific situations. But still, it's in their personality that they could do it.
Well, fair enough.
And all of my characters, I'm going to say them really quickly. So if you don't want a short spoiler for characters that start off pretty good and maybe turn bad by the end, for Attack on Titan, Chainsaw Man, or Jujutsu Kaisen, close your ears for 7 seconds. Ready? Now. Annie from Attack on Titan, Makima from Chainsaw Man, and Mei Mei from Jujutsu Kaisen. They got their charms, but they're a little evil sometimes.
The minute I saw that girl in her wacky hairstyle, that wacky braid, I knew I wasn't going to like her.
Damn, she a baddie. That's what I say. But thank you for the mailbag and the main topic, even though you didn't know it was the main topic.
I'm checking out this
This
Wasp
is the Sajinther episode. Let's head into our review.
Oh boy.
It's time to review the Apothecary Diaries. It's a fall 2023 show. I passed it in episode 700, and it's available for viewing on Crunchyroll. So, general synopsis. Our main character, Mao Mao, is an apothecary's daughter and was plucked from her peaceful life and sold into servitude in the imperial court. As a maid, she... What?
Sorry.
Okay. As a maid, she hides her extensive knowledge of medicine in order to avoid any unwanted attention. However, not long after Mao Mao's arrival, the Emperor's infant children inexplicably become ill. The curious Mao Mao easily solves the mystery and attempts to leave an anonymous tip. Unfortunately, the dashing and perceptive eunuch Jinshi sees through it and manages to single her out. In recognition of her talent, Mao Mao is promoted to lady-in-waiting for one of the emperor's concubines. Mao Mao continues to remedy the numerous ailments inflicting the imperial court, but there might be something nefarious behind it all. So director Norihiro Naganuma. It's produced by OLM Studio, and it's based on a light novel. So going into it, Mitsugi, what did you think?
Well, I already watched like a quarter of this beforehand, so I pretty much knew what I was watching. So, I mean, it's fine. Pretty loose historical setting, episodic. That was the big thing, as I knew it was going to be episodic for the most part. So I was kind of preparing myself for that, because those tend to not be particularly good for for like binging. So the episodic shows are they're better.
I'm
they're
pretty
better
proud
once
of
a
you,
week.
because I know you finished this show even before I did. So you got it done, Mitz. You didn't leave it to the last second.
Well, thank God there was a dub, and I had a couple like slow work days, so I just put it on and kind of let it go. So,
Mason, expectations?
Pretty high. I was seeing a lot of love online, both for the show itself. I mean, you look at the ratings, it's really high, and just the main character. Mao Mao gifs were all over social media, our Discord. You just couldn't go any channel without seeing her face pop up in some sort of form. So people were clearly hyped about it, and I was like, okay, let's see what it's all about. So I came in with high expectations.
I really liked it from the first 3 episodes, and thankfully, like, those 3 episodes came out all together. I think it was like at the end of our impressions period, and at best, I was expecting to be able to see 1 episode due to its airing schedule. But yeah, all 3 of them came out, and I watched all 3, and I knew instantly it was going to get a pass because I really liked it. In fact, I watched it here and there while it was still airing, and I stopped myself from watching it more so I would be able to get, a good portion of it fresh in my memory for when we reviewed it. So yeah, I was really excited to finish it. So recommendation, Mitsugi, do you recommend it?
This is the main event of the evening.
just kidding. I'm not gonna be that mean to this anime.
You were so mean to it already on our Discord.
Not really. I mean, all I said is that Mao Mao would not exist in reality. That's pretty much all I said.
With that one fact, let me bring up the message that they play at the beginning of every episode, just to remind you, this is not supposed to be realistic. They say, quote unquote, this story is a work of fiction. The names of all the characters, organizations, and so on are imaginary. It bears no connection to any specific real life events. Continue with that in mind.
So I would not recommend this anime. I mean, there are people I think I could, no, I don't know. I think Sayankoku Monogatari is better anime than this, and they're very similar. So if I was going to recommend, a loosely Chinese setting historical show with politics and pretty characters and shit, it would probably be that one. It wouldn't be this one. But I think the problem with this anime is that if you don't like Mao Mao, the anime is torpedoed. Like, there's no saving it after that. And I found Mao Mao to be largely unlikable. So I don't know. She's just too much of like she's bipolar in the sense that like she's deadpan half the time, where it's like something will happen and she's just very factual and calm about it. She's never particularly elevated. And then like about the dumbest shit, she just turns into like an anime character, and they end up like, chibiing her head and doing the anime cat ear thing and all that. So, I don't know. She's also just like this intense know-it-all character that's good at everything and never fails and is so pretty and so smart and smarter than everybody. And she can drink poison. She can fucking play chess better than a master. She knows everything about all history. She knows everything about all plants. And she's basically 17. So, if this were if this were China, she would literally know nothing about anything, and 17-year-olds today know nothing about anything anyway. So I don't know. I just found Mao Mao a little, I don't know, annoying, and so that's a torpedo of the anime for the most part. I also think this anime is very slow, so it's slow moving. Like, this anime must have 100 typed pages of dialogue in it, probably more than that. I mean, it's essentially just dialogue and reading or listening the whole time, and I didn't find the narrative to be particularly cohesive. Not enough for 2 cores. I mean, it would have been better to me as a 1-core anime. 26 or 20 whatever 24 episodes is pretty long to just largely be talking about like concubines and poisons and babies and shit like that. So I wouldn't recommend it. I'm sure most people don't agree with me. Probably no one does. And because this anime is the 20th best anime of all time online. And I'm like, this anime is not better than GTO. Like, there's no fucking way. It's not better than Monster, but apparently it is. So I don't know. It's fine that I'm out on a limb, but I need a story. I've said this so many times. I need a story, or watching an anime for 6 straight hours with no continuous story is a little like being tortured. So it's just too boring. So back to you, Cotton.
I will say I find your gripes to be a little bit easier to understand when you're not obsessing over the fact that Mao Mao can read. Because that was what you were talking about for a long time on Discord.
If it were actually based on the Tang Dynasty, she would not be able to read.
Well, thankfully, it's historical fiction.
Actually, the literacy rate of women in China around the year 1900 is roughly, at most, 10%, according to the internet. So if you back that up 1,200 years, no one's reading. Like, almost no men are reading. Like, no one can. So that's why I said that. I mean, people were studying like 40 years to pass like literacy tests at that point in time. So, and that's why they simplified the Chinese language. That's why Japan simplified it, because no one could fucking learn that crap. Anyway, sorry. I assume back to you, Caroline.
Mason, do you want to go next since you gave
Yeah, I can. I think this show does quite a few things well, but unfortunately it does a lot of things relatively weaker, so I'm feeling pretty neutral overall on the show. A lot of the writing, a lot of the mysteries kind of fall short of, I think, the more interesting elements, which, as Mitsugi said, pretty much boils down to your enjoyment of this show comes down to how much you enjoy Mao Mao. I love how she is working and excelling within a power system that they're not at the top of, and seeing her kind of pull threads and put pieces together to kind of exist and thrive within that space is really engaging. But beyond that, the world just kind of serves to elevate her, and it makes the rest of the story kind of feel flat. And we'll get into kind of why I feel that way. So for people who enjoy stuff like Raven of the Inner Palace, a look into just general historical palace life, or just like that strong, independent female lead, solving mysteries, catching the eye of the romantic, handsome heartthrob, give it a go. Like, there is value to this show, and obviously a lot of people adore it. Personally, I just thought it was lacking in enough ways that I can't wholesale recommend it to everyone. I give it just a light recommendation, but if you're the kind of people who like this kind of show, and you already know if you are, don't skip it. If not, I think you could do better elsewhere.
Well, getting into my recommendation, it really is up my alley. I mean, I loved Raven of the Inner Palace, and it's like checking all the boxes for me, and I feel like this show has some sort of secret sauce to it, because in my experience, I can enjoy an episodic show, but rarely will it make me want to binge it. And this show made me want to binge it for some reason that I can't figure out. And I agree with what you guys said. This show completely revolves around your enjoyment of Mao Mao. And I freaking love Mao Mao. And her voice actress.
Oh my goodness,
so
killed
good.
it.
Yeah. I feel like her character and her voice, it just has like a balance of intelligence and aloofness, and it also has, she also has her moments of like sass and comedy, and I just love her. Even chibi Mao Mao, like it is a little bit strange. Sometimes it can go from pretty serious like stuff, and then she goes into cat form, and it is a little bit strange that they kind of have that chibi form so much in this show, even with other characters as well, but I still love it.
It's literally
It's anime,
her
though, I
name.
mean.
It is
her name is Cat
Mao
Cat.
Mao's cat. Yeah. In Jin, she even refers to her as his cat. So there you go.
And when like the old lady meets her at the end, that's why she calls her Zhao Mao, because it's little cat kitten.
Yep.
It's
Little kitten.
so good.
Yep. And speaking of which, I really like Mao Mao and Jinchi as a duo. Jinchi can be a little bit creepy sometimes because he is the romantic type. But I think I enjoy the two of them together. I think they bounce off pretty well. I think the show is fairly pretty. It has good music too. But if you don't like Mao Mao, the show's just not worth your time. Sometimes, or especially because it's two core, I mean, I didn't mind that it was two core, but as Mitsugi said, for people that didn't like it, it's going to be slog. I will say, sometimes I didn't feel like the mysteries were that great. Like, especially by the end, they were getting too convoluted, and to the point where I couldn't even remember what was going on or understand what happened by the end. And also when some of these mysteries get brought back into perspective in the second half, I'm like, oh, I totally forgot about that entire thing. What happened? I had no idea. Some of the plot points in the second half also felt kind of out of nowhere and underdeveloped. But overall, it was a show that I was excited to watch every episode of, despite it being episodic. So I think that is a pretty good sign for people who might like the type of shows I like. So there you have it. And with that, I guess we go into spoiler territory.
Spoilers are coming. Oh my god.
All right, so I think we should start off with Mao Mao. She's probably the most important talking point here. Why don't you like her, Mitsugi?
Well, part of the reason why I don't like her, I think, is because I find the content in the anime uninteresting. And since she's like that, and this anime is not like terrible or anything. I'm not gonna go sit here and like just say outlandish shit. Like, it's not gonna be a Tony Kaku Kawaii. So for those of you listening that are all like, yeah, I love it when Mitch loses his shit, like I really don't think this is gonna be one of those.
You
but
played
like,
it up for sure.
But and honestly, Mao Mao, I feel like she kind of ruins the storylines in the anime. And the reason why I say that is because she's too good. She's a better detective than L. I mean, there's no fucking way. Like, it's not even close. She's like
too good.
She'll be like, "Oh, the storehouse burned down." I'm loosely remembering this section of the show, but she's like, "Oh, the storehouse burned down. Well, one time when I was 4, I had some flour and I lit it on fire accidentally and it blew up. So that means this must have been caused by a flower." That, like, she just makes these deductions that are literally impossible, that no actual living human could ever come up with. And it's the same reason why I thought L was stupid. He's like, well, the crime happened between 3 and 5 p.m. And that means it must be a high school student. And because he targeted this particular person whose dad is a police officer, it must be somebody who has ties to the police that are in high school. I'm like, no, just because someone killed someone between 3 and 5 p.m. means nothing. But the deductions are ultimately perfect because he's L. That's kind of how I feel about Mao Mao.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would feel similarly about how I do think she is a little bit too good because the mysteries get so convoluted. I'm thinking to myself, no, that's too complicated. Like, I don't see anybody really making that their first assumption. But I probably would find it a little bit more annoying had it not been for the fact that they kind of drop in this plot point between Mao Mao and her dad. And one of the first interactions we see between the two of them is her dad pushing her to, like, almost like a game, to figure out what the situation is, why this thing is like this in this way. Even if there's no reason for her to figure it out, and her deductions are probably correct, but he's like, no, I think you need to look at this a little bit closer, and she realizes that she's wrong. There's no reason for her to be playing detective, but her dad, like, trained her to do that constantly, it seems like, every time that they were working together. So because of that, I think it was really smart that they put that in, because then it made me realize, like, oh, she's doing this, like, on instinct, based on how she was raised.
I also think that it's not so much Mao Mao for a lot of it. It's just that I don't think the content is very interesting to me. It's a period piece, like political mystery drama type thing, right? And none of the drama is very juicy. Like, there's really nothing happening that's particularly, I don't know, fucking interesting. Like, watching some girl, like, freak out because she eats certain foods during a poison tasting is snoozeworthy to me. I'm, like, asleep at this point, honestly. And that's a lot of the show, and they just don't get into any, like for example, we were talking about Bridgerton earlier in the Hobby Addicts. There's not that much difference between this and Bridgerton. They're both, like, dramas set in a period, so they're both period pieces. They both have a lot of, like, main female characters, but Bridgerton's full of, like, this slutty, like hot and heavy, like, sex and intrigue and duels and all this, and I was just missing that in Apothecary Diaries. I just don't think there was a lot of that. It wasn't sure. It's like ancient China is so full of fighting and killing and dying and terrible leaders and all this stuff, and it's just it's an era that people still follow because it's so interesting, and I just didn't think the content was that good. So
you know what, I kind of I will agree on that. I think the mysteries, the core of the mysteries, the people they involved, forgettable. Like, especially since I watched the first half months ago. I struggle to really think of the plot lines they involved. I mean, I remember a couple of them, but damn it, I can't remember how they resolved, or even if they resolved. Even when I was watching it, I'm like, okay, is this the final answer? Is that how it gets? Is that fully resolved? It doesn't feel like it's fully resolved, but we're moving on. Luckily, a couple of them are brought back later in the second half, which I was glad for, that there's more to that story. But even some more of them that were not mentioned, I feel kind of let down about.
Well, they might come back. This is getting a second season.
They might, but even so, there's so many of them and small, and I'm even struggling to remember them now. When the season 2 comes out, there's no way I'm going to remember them.
There's kind of two issues that I took with the mysteries. Obviously, they're just not that strong. They're either obvious, very hand-holdy, full of coincidences, or just have very artificial hurdles. And they just feel weak and gimmicky. And like you said, a lot of these just feel unresolved. Like, oh, there's someone who burned the tablets and attempted to poison, or when Mao Mao goes home for a day and she kind of gets re-kidnapped and brought into that whole scheme, and it just kind of fizzles out. And I do like how a lot of these mysteries are part of a larger narrative. I like when those are brought back in. But just like the seaweed mystery from episode 15. We get these random nobodies who come in. We get the obvious culprit of the guy's, like, brother who is, like, upset that they're going through the stuff. She looks at a stash of evidence, finds just one pot, opens it up, finds the exact seaweed she's looking for. And, like, it's just full of assumptions, has a very lame resolution. And while there are stakes, these stakes are never almost for Mao Mao. Like, she's so nonchalant and distant that it kind of buffers any tension because she's not really involved with them. So we as the viewer are kind of like, well, that person died, but, like,
right,
why do we care? So it's not satisfying. And the other issue is then that it's not that Mao Mao is so smart that she solves the mysteries quickly. She is, but the issue is that she's surrounded by all these simpletons who don't have the brain cells. Like, she goes to the trio of brothers who all work with metals, and she's figuring out, oh, this metal just needs to get melted. Like, they would know about the metal. Or the florists who don't know how to make blue roses. Like, everyone else in the story is just there to help us, to be like, Mao Mao, save me. Just grace us with your brilliant intellect. When it's like, oh, let's just put the fishbowl on the exact spot at the exact time of day to shoot this laser beam of light to melt the beam. Like, you guys should have figured it out, you dumbos.
Well,
Like
that's
that's the point of your
I don't know.
will.
That was still pretty convoluted. I'll give you that everybody else kind of is stupid to make Mao Mao a little bit smarter. But I hated that episode.
It was bad. It
That
was a
whole
bad mystery for a bunch
even
of
if
different
it does
reasons.
play into the bigger mystery of it all, I was like watching. I'm like, oh, the father is just doing all this crazy stuff just to tell the brother to be closer to each other even after
Exactly.
his death.
But they
And
did it in
the
such
younger
a
brother who's like, please, Nissan,
yeah. It's
let's not fight, kind of thing. I'm just like,
the
oh,
mysteries, which
fast
are
forward.
a majority of the runtime, are pretty lackluster, which is why I felt fatigued. But then seeing Mao Mao just like bounce off the walls off these random tangents is really what pulls me back in. But just if you rewatch episode 1, listen to it's almost like the show doesn't give the viewers credit. They have to explain everything. Or watch episode 1, listen to how many times characters say Mao Mao, Mao Mao, Mao Mao this, Mao Mao. They just make you know that she is the center, the nucleus of the show. And they just make sure that you prize her beyond belief. And they don't really it's just I didn't like how that was presented.
I feel like the show. I mean, you're getting a part of the point, and the show's not bad, honestly. Like the designs are generally good. You know, the music's good. It looks good.
You called her Barney.
No, I don't like Mao Mao's design. She does look like Barney. She looks like a Barney or like an eggplant or something. Purple and green just don't work. I don't know. It
is a very strange outfit she has on, but
yeah.
Other than the outfit, I mean, I think she looks fine.
She's not always wearing the purple and green, but I'm just saying there's a lot of good things about this show, and not all of the story segments are bad, right? There are a few, and even though I watched the first few like 6 months ago or something, so I can't remember, but I recall thinking the beginning of the show was much better. Like that was maybe the high point.
I do agree. Because I was watching the second half this week, and I watched much of the first half, like in the meantime, and I remember being so invested in the first half.
Mm-hmm,
and I was still invested in the second half, but I did feel let down by some of the points in the second half that we'll get to in a little bit, I think. But.
Yeah, and like Pancake and I watched 5 episodes of this really quickly. It was like boom, they were gone, and I was like, and that's usually a good sign, right?
I'm surprised that because I thought you hated all of it.
Well, but like so, and I just say these to point out that like it's not all bad things, but like Mason touched on my main issue, which is like there's no fucking way Mao Mao is gonna know that like this metal needs to melt, or like she's just too smart and it's obnoxious. I think that's this, and it would make more sense to me if she had like a crew that she would develop over time, or she would consult like subject matter experts or something, because Mao Mao isn't gonna know about all the poisons in the world, all the melting temperatures of metal. She's not going to know about, she's not going to be able to put a fish bowl on a window and figure that shit out. Nobody can figure that crap out. Also, how does did I miss something? How does a light through a fish bowl melt metal?
I think it might have been like due to the like there's like something carved into the glass of the fishbowl, and that carving
it wouldn't
melt
melt
it
though.
But as
melt
I was watching it, I'm like, there's no way that there's a metal that has that low of a melting point. There's no way.
Here's, I guess, the big crux, and I think it bounces off what Mitch was saying.
Mercury does.
But what bugs me is, it's easy to equate Mao Mao to Senku from Dr. Stone, who's similarly someone gifted with great intellect, great genius in the arts of science, and uses that. The difference is Senku is in essentially a Neanderthal era where all these people are simpletons, and he is kind of from the future, even though he's from the past, with this knowledge, and that's why they're blown away, and that's why he's a star. Mao Mao is surrounded by people that should be kind of at the same level of her. The people around her should be able to aid in the same way. She doesn't have a Watson to her Sherlock. She's just
highly
an
educated
island of greatness, and that's why it feels so. She comes in, solves the problem, and pieces out, and it's fine. It's just not an engaging element to the show.
Also, like Dr. Stone's a goofy anime, and it's like, who really cares what happens? Because like they're doing ridiculous shit that no one could ever do. But the anime's goofy, right? Mm-hmm. I feel like Apothecary Diaries is very serious. Like it's got a lot of serious stuff in it.
Babies are dying. That's pretty serious.
Babies are dying.
But
people are being poisoned.
Say, like even with that, I feel like the show tries to explain why she is so intelligent. Like, due to her father not even just being a normal apothecary, like, he is a trained doctor in Eastern and Western medicine, lived abroad, was the personal physician to the palace until he was ousted. So for that reason, she has this incredible knowledge.
And that makes sense to me.
Wait a
all
second.
sorts.
Wait a
What?
second. I understand this anime is not actually nonfiction, but it is supposedly based on the Tang Dynasty. There aren't any places for him to go. First of all, no one in China left China in the year 600. There were no countries. There were hardly any countries in the world that would be able to even teach him anything at that point in time. Like,
That might be true, but they do specifically say that both he and Mao Mao's biological father both went abroad. So it's just part of the fantasy part of the show.
Her being smart, her being quick with it makes complete sense. And she was probably well educated, as we saw. And
It is a
you know,
stretch, but
yeah.
it's explained.
Yeah,
There's a
it
lot of
works.
things where in this show where it's a stretch, but it's explained. And even with the stupid episode with the fishbowl and the metal, they do explain it. Like, I don't know if it's scientifically correct, if there's an alloy that lowers the melting point of a metal to that point where a light refraction can melt
At
it.
the exact
But
time of day they were there.
tell you that there is in this world. And for that reason, I feel like everything in this show, as crazy as some of the lengths it gets to, it's somehow explained at some point.
The only thing I didn't like, besides the fishbowl thing, was they could not make up their damn mind how much one of those princesses from the courtesans cost to rent. You know, one day, episode 12, they're like, oh, one night with the princess, that's equal to what you make in a year.
A yearly
Episode
pay,
14, a night with one princess is equal to half of an annual salary. Episode 17, to have tea with them is equal to a year's salary. Is that more or less, is tea what you get with the night?
I didn't notice that.
This
They
inflation,
changed.
come on, Mama, make up your mind. The economics of this is all over the place. So
I did really feel for that one guy. Like, I was it. Oh, what's his name? The guy that was so in love with.
Oh
Tyron?
yeah.
I'm thinking of
Richie or
Lock-On, but
something.
that's her biological father. It's,
No, yeah. It
yeah,
was another L
Lycan?
name.
Lycan? Whatever.
Lee Haku?
Lee Haku, yeah. And he's just pining over her, and she also kind of likes him. And then that whole part where Mao Mao has to judge his body just to tell him if it's even possible if Pyron likes him. So he takes
That was good.
all of his
Because it was
clothes.
not mystery related. Whenever
Yeah.
Mama was just existing in her space and just bouncing off of different folks, that was when the show really excelled
Yeah.
for me. And I actually liked the last couple episodes a lot, both because they kind of merged a lot of mystery elements together, and just it really felt that they weren't trying to just go with the episodic format, which is fine. It just was about the people and the humans and Lock-In and biological moms and fathers and how people interacted, and that's really where the show shined for me.
Now, can we
And-
talk about that further? Sorry, did you want to finish your thought?
No, you're good.
Okay. So you liked it. I liked the idea of it. But what I didn't like is how it set itself up for something and then walked its way back.
Yes,
So
with this
they
evil,
set up-
conniving guy.
Yeah, they set up, like, this is how it was set up. Mao Mao's biological father, who I kind of thought that her, her father was her biological father, but, that then they kind of just dropped in like, oh, she's talking about her adoptive father. I didn't know that. But her biological father, he comes into Jinshi's office and he starts talking about how do you lessen the value of a concubine. And then Mao Mao ends up telling Jinshi later on, like, oh, the way you do that? Well, if you get pregnant, then that's kind of it. And that was a really good scene. I love that scene. And so they're setting the stuff up that Lock-On decided to rape Mao Mao's mom in order to lessen her value, in order to buy her. And then suddenly walks back on that. It could have been really interesting if that was the case. But no, they were actually lovers. And it was a big misunderstanding, a tragedy, if you will. And
So tragic.
it was annoying.
The show has a weird way of presenting things because after that first meeting with Lakan and Jinchi, like Jinchi confronts Mao Mao like, "Hey, I talked to your dad," and she gives him like this death glare, evil
Yeah.
eye. Oh my goodness, he's such this evil person. Mao Mao can't stand him. And later she's like, "Oh, no big deal. I just don't really
I
like
just
the guy."
dislike him. I just dislike him. I do not hate him.
And it was like
Then
similar
what was
to
the face for?
yeah, it was similar, and I
also-
get it. She doesn't like him, but like it seemed too intense. And like, what was with episode 1 at the very beginning of the show? Her dad's like, "Hey, don't go outside and get kidnapped," and we get a flash forward of her getting kidnapped a couple minutes before she gets kidnapped, and it just is like, why did you show that teaser flash forward? Did that add anything? What?
I don't know. I think it might have just been to point at the irony, I guess.
That I don't know. It was like it was a weird flash. Like there's some weird transitions in this show that kind of served to undercut its message, I think.
But going back to what we were talking about.
Yeah, sorry.
I also thought that it was weird that all of a sudden, like Mao Mao throughout her entire life was avoiding ever even seeing this guy. And then all of a sudden she decides to confront him and trick him into a chess game that he loses and gets drunk at, to the point where he's dropped off at, like, she tells him, like, oh, if you lose this chess game, you have to buy out a certain courtesan at the brothel. And he says, okay. So he loses, he gets drunk, he's brought to the brothel, and then he suddenly gets to pick the courtesan, or sorry, the concubine. Well, I get mixed up between these C words, courtesan, that's what it is. But she said a specific courtesan, and yet he got to pick. So that was really weird writing for me. But also the fact that she decided to confront him then. There was no reason for her to confront him before, and there was no advantage for her to confront him then, because he did end up buying out like her mom, but she didn't really care that much about her mom. So that was just really weird. It didn't really seem worth it.
Speaking of, yeah, I mean, I agree. Another weird big point that they seem to make a big scene of that really didn't hit for me was in episode 9, where they show this like CG plant that they're revolving around, and they're trying to invoke this emotional resonance with all the close calls of death. It almost feels like a series recap because they're going through all these, things that happened in the previous 8 episodes, and there's this big dramatic song, and I just felt like it provided nothing to the show. It was like too much boasting and like, oh, look at how much we've accomplished and all these emotional highlights, and it really didn't. Like there was just a lot of this aspirational animation work that ended up kind of looking wonky more than impressive sometimes. Despite
Was that
the fact
around the time that Mao Mao got brought out of the Imperial?
No, I think it was a little bit before it. But it was kind of like a look at everything we've done. Yeah. And I'm like, that's it? Am I supposed to feel something? I feel like we're being very negative on this show because I think
I want to talk about how hot the people are.
I thought this show was full of potential.
Talk about that.
So first of all, Pyrene has the word.
I knew you'd like her.
Has the word pie in her name,
boobs.
which is suspiciously similar to Opie. So her name's almost like Titrine, which I think is funny, and she has massive gajungas. You know what? Where the hell is my fucking? They are fucking big. I mean, they're hilarious. They're watermelon big.
Mao Mao was nursed on those boobs.
They are bigger in the manga than in the anime. I'm looking at a manga picture from the side, and it is.
Oh, really?
There's an acre of side boob. I mean, it's fucking.
I'm gonna
hilarious.
look this up.
It's on my anime list. Just click on her, and go to there's only 2 pictures of her. And then it doesn't end there, right? So all these characters are just smoking hotties. Mei Mei's a smoking hottie, and she's got giant conjungas too. So the author is loving.
I mean, they are the highest earning courtesans in this entire brothel.
They're loving the body cones over in light novel land, because Li Hua, which I'm pretty sure is something flower in Chinese, she's hot and has Big Betty Nugs. So that's and then don't even get me started on Gyokuyo and Lowland. But what happened to Mao Mao? Because she has nothing.
Well,
She definitely got ripped off.
she's not a courtesan.
No, well, of course not. But you don't become a courtesan because you have a big rack.
Well, you also don't
So why do
have
all-
to have big boobs
Well,
as a woman.
Well, especially in Asia, I would say that is actually the norm. But this light novel author definitely likes a big pair of breasts, because all of these characters are hilariously attractive and are very well endowed. So
I like how after I'm like, we've been really negative on this show, Mitch is like, okay,
let's talk
message
about
heard.
some
Let's
boobs.
talk about the boobs. Yeah.
And then everybody is pretty. So it's a lot like Sainkoku Monogatari, which is also full of pretty people. But like Jinshi's pretty. Is anybody
he
not
is.
pretty? Unless they're old, that aren't like old people.
Old.
There's a guy. Isn't there a guy? What's the name of the guy? There's a military guy in here that's absolutely jacked. He's
Lee
shredded.
Haku. Is that the guy that Mao Mao
couldn't
saw completely naked?
Yeah, I can't remember who that is.
Yeah, we just
Almost
talked about
completely
it.
naked,
Yeah, he's
unfortunately.
shredded. Like,
Oh my
yeah.
god! So I actually have this in my
Oh my
cons
gosh.
list because
your
when
cons
we
list?
see Jinshi shirtless and this guy shirtless, both times I was looking at it and I'm like thinking to myself, this looks comically beefed. Like, I cannot imagine. Like, I know they are, soldiers working in ancient China. There really isn't much else to do, but all we see Jinshi do is sit in his office literally all day or following Mao Mao.
Well,
So there's no time for him to be, like, pumping iron constantly. There's no way he has that muscle mass.
well, wait a second. Jinshi is a eunuch.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
okay, he's not. And
Well,
every time Mama's
yeah.
like,
It says he's a
this
eunuch.
eunuch,
Is that-
the more she said that he's a
pretending
eunuch,
to
the
be a
more I was like,
eunuch.
there's no way he's a eunuch.
Pretending.
Oh, so he's not actually a eunuch?
Nope.
No, he's taking.
Okay.
Okay, so there was a
Taking them penile.
Boy, I got bamboozled on
suppressants.
that
yeah,
one.
he's taking some sort of medication to, like,
Suppress his magnum dong.
I don't know how to
okay,
say it,
so
but yeah.
my point was the eunuch is never going to be jacked because they have no testosterone production. So, so if he's taking meds to suppress his testosterone, how is he jacked?
True. Yeah.
That muscle would
I
go
mean,
away
that,
so
that
fast.
is a good point.
I mean, maybe that's
Lee
not what he's
Haku
doing.
is not a eunuch, and he is shredded and beefed.
to the gills.
And yet,
rotund,
Jinshi's just as
thick.
shredded as him.
Yeah.
But
Well,
then
he's a little
also,
bit
like,
beefier.
when they put their robes on, like, I know that they're billowy and they kind of, they don't have a lot of skin tight definition on them, but they don't look nearly as jacked until they take off their clothes. And I'm like thinking to myself, this just looks weird. It's too jacked.
There's
Oh,
only
come on.
one character who deserves to look that jacked.
Who's that?
And that's, I think it's like Basin. He's like the character that was tailing them as the bodyguard that episode.
Yeah.
Which had the funniest scene when they were like both munching on that chicken skewer, and you could
And
see
he
him
was
be
grilling.
like, "Ooh, that looks good." And then the next shot is him tailing them, and he's got like 18 between his fingers. I'm like, that boy knows how to gain some mass. But
And it was that episode that I really liked Mao Mao and Jinshi because they were just hanging out for the
yeah,
most
they
part.
weren't solving a mystery, and that's what made it awesome. I was reading some interviews, and I think this is part of why their relationship doesn't work for me, is that the author definitely did not intend on them being a couple. Like, that was
Really?
not. So
When they make
Jinshi was
that guy
there.
that pretty,
Jinshi
you
was there
can't
for
make
comic
him a-
relief.
really?
And I think this
That's
author
crazy.
was just so upset that everyone just really got on the Jinshi Mao Mao ship, and they had to make it more of a thing, because he definitely feels like just the avenue that mysteries get delivered to Mao Mao. And like, it seems kind of their romance gets shoehorned at the end, because I like how he has all these very creepy advances that work on all the other girls, and Mao Mao's like, that's gross. Could you please not?
I love
I
that.
love that dynamic, because you gotta put that guy in his place. I
but,
think
like,
I need
too
to
uppity.
season 2 to be sold on their whatever it
You
is
know
they got
what?
going on.
I do like the two of them together. I like that Jinshi gets put in his place by her all of the time. But Mao Mao, she seems like a person that is not romantically interested. She
No,
does
she
not.
doesn't.
I honestly, I think what?
She's not. No way. She
Yeah,
doesn't give a fuck.
she loves one thing, and that is Apothecary.
She likes poison.
And
She
I wouldn't
loves
mind if they got
hairballs.
together because I love enemies to lovers stuff, and I would not mind if they got together by the end of it. I think it is I think it would be more natural for her character to never be romantically involved.
Yeah.
That seems about right.
All that negative stuff aside, though, like this show has a ton of potential. I love the soundtrack. Kevin Penkin, as always, delivers.
I totally forgot.
There's a ton of ambition to the visuals here. There's so many well done fluid shots. There's
The
like a
flowers are
shot.
so
There's a
pretty.
scene in like episode 15 where they're pouring water into a cup. That's it. 99% of the time, you show an anime that it's just like a side view character pours into cup. You see nothing. Here they do this whole elaborate shot within the cup, looking out as the spout comes over and you see the water pour. Like this show went above and beyond visually and really had a lot of great moments like that. I mean, as cheesy as I thought it would be, Mao Mao's dance at the end, which just seemed like a weird, oh, let's just make her pretty at the end and do this cool dance. But like, it was a dance for her biological mother getting moved on and progressing with, and it actually carried the emotional resonance that I think episode 9 was missing with that whole elaborate thing. So the show does so much good, and I think despite all these complaints with it, it's not bad because it has a good foundation, and Mao Mao I think still is a fantastic character. It just never reached as high as I thought it could, and that's why I'm so like, I don't because I don't know. It was close, but I don't think it hit the mark for me. And that's why I'm like still going to give it a good score relatively. It just has more things that I see wrong with it. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like we're hating on it when it's
Actually, I
saying a
don't
lot
think
of
we
negative
hate
things.
it.
Listen,
I think it's pretty objective,
I
honestly.
will foremost say I loved this show. And yet I still have more things on my con list that I
Yeah,
want to get to.
lay it on us.
Okay, so I think we already talked about like some things are kind of left unresolved at the end. How are we not like going back and you know, season 2 stuff, we can resolve these things in season 2, that's obvious. But how is the cast not focusing on the fact Jinshi was almost freaking murdered? And they're not at all like, we need to figure out who did it right now. That is not on the top of their mind right now. It seems like they kind of just like, oh, well, that was enough for today. Let's get to that next month or something like that. Or whenever something else pops up. When they could do so much more to be like investigating who, what, when, where, and why on how he was almost freaking murdered in the
Remember,
most convoluted way.
everyone in the show is pretty dumb. Like everyone's like, oh, the crazy accident. Like it's only Mao Mao who's like, no, I'm gonna solve this great mystery, and takes 2 steps towards doing it, and then the season ends.
Yeah. And in that same wheelhouse, how the hell doesn't Mao Mao not realize who Jinshi is? Like, I can kind of see it because she's the type to be like, well, I feel like it would be trouble for me if I found out, so I'm not going to, you know, focus on it. But it literally takes like 2 seconds to realize that Jinshi is a member of the royal family. Like, it's so obvious. And I think if she even employed 1% of her incredibly gigantic cranium to think about the situation, she would know that he has to be a member of the royal family.
I mean, this is where season 2 is gonna hurt someone like me who's not like actively reading up on this, and it's gonna come out, and I'm gonna be like, okay, so the one character had a baby, but she swapped it with the other baby, and that baby that she didn't swap ended up dying, but Jinshi grew up, but he's not the emperor's this, and like it's that web of, you know, lies and deceit that really makes it confusing. And if we have to wait for season 2, I'm just gonna forget that, and
I'm not going to remember
Yeah,
shit
that's
about
my-
this.
As much as I love it, I'm going to forget a lot about these specific mysteries because the
and
thing
I'm
I
not
loved
taking
so much was
points
Mao Mao.
away for that. It's just a factor of how these shows go. If you're gonna have a mystery carry over and be such a major one,
It's going to be tough.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Get ready for the 20-minute YouTube video. The Apothecary Diaries Season 1 recap. All you need to know before watching
You're
Season
going
2.
to fucking need it.
Yeah.
That being said, I am very excited that there's going to be a season 2.
Well, I'm hoping this is one of those. I assume I'm going to have to watch season 2 also. So
I mean, I
there's no
don't know.
way.
I'm not really keen. I'm never really keen on passing shows that
It doesn't matter. It'll
that
get
it's
picked.
not absolutely necessary to pass, and I know that you don't really like.
Well, it's going to get picked.
We'll see. We'll see
But, I
how
mean,
good of a season it is.
Well, it won't matter because it'll be the beginning, right? But anyway, my point was that I'm hoping the season 2. I'm hoping this is one of those anime where season 1 meanders and does a bunch of shit. That doesn't have a narrative really, and then but you get the world building and the characters, and then in season 2 they take off with a narrative. Like I don't read light novels, whatever. I'm hoping that that's the case here because it wouldn't be so bad if it was like if we were just focusing on one interesting story. That's my opinion. But I'm hoping that's where it goes in season 2, which isn't going to be for a while. Like I think about a year from now. But yeah.
Is anybody else really glad that Mao Mao's friend, when she was a maid, that her friend was not nearly as involved as they
Yes, that was one of the characters who in episode 1 was Mao.
I hated her.
She was very Genki, past even my limitations. And yeah, there was. The start of the show was good. We had a great slap early on that Mao Mao delivered, so it had its moments. But for the most part, just show me Mao Mao doing her thing.
Mao.
I don't need to see these ham-fisted mysteries. And I hope, like Mint said, we're moving into the world being not just about her at the center, but more, I don't know, involved.
Yeah, because a 17-year-old girl wouldn't be that heavily focused on. She just wouldn't. So
I would just cough it up to like main character syndrome, you know? If you're the main character, you are going to have the world revolve around you no matter who you are.
I just think the show has more potential to be interesting than it's currently reaching for, and I'm hoping we go there. And we need some more like main protagonist characters to carry the show. Because not everyone loves Mao Mao, you know? So although I will say, this anime, nobody gives this fucking show a bad score. It is nuts. I don't know if you guys how much more you guys have to say, but this anime, only 7% of people give this anime lower than an 8. That's fucking wild. 7%.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy.
So I don't know. Yeah. It's like you would think. It's like I must be the only one who doesn't like Mao Mao all that much because like everyone else apparently loves her. Everybody, because if you didn't love her, there's no way this gets higher than a 7. So I just can't. It's crazy.
Anything else, Caroline? I'm ready to score this.
I think I had something else, but then I kind of forgot. So, oh well. Yep, ready to score. Mitsugi, would you like to go first?
Sure. Apothecary Diaries is a fine anime, which is what I scored it on my anime list. Fine. I think it's good at some things and bad at other things. It's interesting sometimes, but mostly not. That's my opinion. Your mileage will vary depending on how you like the individual small stories or how you like Mao Mao will pretty much determine how much you like this anime. Mao Mao for me was pretty mid. I'm not going to remember her. And I don't know. I don't like her design either. I never like green-haired characters. There are maybe no green-haired characters I like. Spike, his hair.
I feel like it's green in the same way Mao Mao's is green.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's like tinged.
Spike is not a great character, though. He doesn't have a personality. I mean, he's cool. He's cool as fuck. But, come on. Spike, he barely talks in that anime. Anyway, it's fine. Spike's fine. I'm giving this anime 3 poisoned soups out of 5 or something. It's fine. It's got great aesthetics, but sometimes the story is slow and boring. And I was bored for probably at least half of this, and that's too much. So,
you know, Mitz, I'm conflicted because on one hand, I'm glad that you didn't completely hate it, and I feel like that's a fair score. On the other hand, I'm pissed because you keep on doing this to me. You built up hatred and terrible opinions on our Discord.
Terrible opinions?
Yes, a terrible opinions because
all I did was state facts.
For an hour you were going on and on about how this girl should not be able to read.
But that's not an
out
opinion.
Of all the things you could talk about.
But that's not an opinion, though. You know
Mao
right?
Mao and Apothecary Diaries 1 out of 5.
Yeah.
And I knew you were exaggerating, but
Of
I
course.
thought you would give it a 2 at least, and you give it a 3, and you.
Well, it's not like a piece of shit. Like I look at the words on here, and it's like a 5 is average. Is it average? No. Average is like there's a lot of fucking terrible anime. Is it good to me? Maybe, but not. To me, it's just fine. Basically.
That's fair. But you
but
really hype up your hatred.
she does
on
look like
Discord.
Barney. She needs a makeover.
You know what?
Bad.
I'll give it to you. I did laugh at that comment.
I mean, she needs a makeover. I don't know. That's what I think.
I know they did her makeup quite a few times in this series.
They did, but everybody else in this anime is like, it's like smoke show, sweet asses walking. And then
I think
Mao
what
Mao
you mean
needs
is she needs some boob fillers.
Well, I mean, we don't need to go like get her implants or something. I mean, just
Well, I mean, I think that's
give her
what
some
you
prettier
want.
clothes. Give her like a blue and white outfit. That would look so much better. A blue skirt with a white top. That would look much better than purple and green. But of course, that's stupid talking point.
I think it's supposed to be in her nature to like dress down, you know, because that's why she has the freckles. Like she's trying to call no attention to herself. She's trying to look frumpy. That's her. That's
but
her
I don't,
MO.
But you see, I don't want to. But see, here's the thing. And this conversation bleeds into video games too, because the bottom line is, if you're gonna play a video game, and if you're gonna play like Tomb Raider for 30 hours, or if you're gonna watch Apothecary Diaries for 8 hours, I want the main character that I had to stare at continuously to be someone I want to look at for 8 hours. So I don't want her to look frumpy. I want her to at least be interesting to look at. She doesn't have to have giant tits, but I think blue and white would look good.
Sure, but I think that the fact that she purposefully looks frumpy and also has the freckles on and everything, like she's actively trying to look not as attractive, and for the reason that she does it, so that she's not and doesn't get into any unfortunate situations with lustful men. Like, I think that's a really interesting thing that I haven't seen in anime.
Someone in the, and I'll move off here now, but someone asked me if I like Lum because she has green hair. Well, Lum her hair is sometimes blue, and I've never really watched Yurusa Yatsura. I don't fucking know. I really don't.
I like the whole like tiger print bikini, but Lum is pretty cool.
Lum is hot. Lum is a hot character, but I mean, I've never really watched that show, so I don't fucking know. Anyway,
Like even I saw a little bit of the reboot. I think her hair is pretty cool. I don't think they do this in the original, but it kind of glows and has
It's
like
neat.
a rainbow effect sometimes. I think it was pretty cool.
Anyway,
Mason, sorry.
This show was good, but it wasn't polished. And I think exactly how I feel about the visuals is how I feel about the show. There's just these little nigglings of inconsistency. Characters will blush and it will just be on one cheek. Characters will put a bag down and it's gone in the next shot. Like, it looks fine, it moves fine, but there's just something that's holding it back. And I think maybe if it was just so much hype and high ratings and people just gushing with love and adoration for the show, that makes me feel more disappointed than mad. I'm just a little let down about what this was, despite all of its strong points. I think it just needed some more time to simmer and just be. I don't know what the show needed, but it was close to being something really special, and I think maybe the hype just rubbed me the wrong way. So it's a fine show. It gets the job done, but I don't know. I'm going to give it 3 trying to land that shot out of 5. There's a lot of cool moments. I liked the representation of the guy who couldn't see people's faces. A lot of the just science behind her mystery solvings were accurate, besides that goddamn stupid fishbowl. But it's good. It's
Fucking
fine.
fishbowl.
It gets the job done.
Yeah.
If you're curious about the show,
Universally hated that episode.
give it a shot. You'll learn pretty quickly if Mao Mao is your thing. And if so, go ahead. Enjoy the show. Aoyuki absolutely killed it. Just carried the show on her back through 20-something episodes. I think it dipped a little bit into the second core, but by the end, it kind of regained my trust. So I don't know. You could do a lot worse in this show, so I just want to hear what Caroline says. I want to hear a good
Oh.
score because the show deserves more than what I gave it.
One last con that I remember when I said that I had one more thing to say, then I forgot it. Well, I remembered it. Remember when we get into Mao Mao's mom's story and how she had cut off a finger and also her baby's finger and sent it to her father? And when they
Pretty
told that
fucked
story,
up.
I'm like, wait a minute, Mao Mao has all her fingers, and I'm counting them. There's like 1, 2, 3.
That's pretty
There's
brutal.
10 fingers. There's 10 fingers. So what's the deal with
If you
that?
look at watch the second OP. Like
Really?
a third of the way in, they'll show a shot of her hands where they have the painted nails. Her left pinky definitely looks a little wonky. And if you notice at the end of the
I need to
series,
rewatch it then.
she tells Jinstry, like, you cut it off as a baby. Like,
Yeah.
it
She
kind of
said-
grows back.
She said that, but I don't believe it. I don't believe it because all throughout the series, her fingers look fine. They
Because
don't
they're
look
not going to animate a little finger like
Yeah, but
in
if you make
regular
it a
animation.
plot point, I expect you to commit.
Yeah,
And
I would
also-
like it too. Watch the second OP
also,
though, you'll see it.
When we see the fingers, and he shows it's supposed to be a quote unquote child's finger, a baby's finger. It looks like a regular length finger. That is not a baby's finger.
It was
A
just
baby's
dip.
finger is like not even an inch tall.
Yeah, but that's a dip.
So, yeah, that bothered me. I feel like that was one of the things that just like, one of the things that jumped the shark was the fact that her finger grew back. And that she
Listen,
mentioned that.
nothing is going to overwhelm me more than that fishbowl. So,
You're right. You're right. The fishbowl is the main evil in this show.
yeah. Worst villain.
But yeah, even with all the cons that I've given about the show, people should know by now that the more I like the show, the more cons I will give. Because that's when I really focus on what I don't like about something. I freaking love the show. I love Mao Mao. She is the star. She is the main event. And I just love her. And even if the mysteries were kind of lackluster, even in this review, it kind of made me realize how much the mysteries themselves were not at all what I was there for. It was just really good characters that I enjoyed. And also, I feel like some of the darker storylines with the concubines and, oh yeah, remember when Mao Mao was invited to give lessons on sex to the
Multiple times.
Well, there was the one situation where it was specifically to act as a teacher, and there were a couple concubines, or one of them, the Li Hua, I think it was. She was just like closing her eyes because she's younger, and the other ones are just like dutifully looking at it, like kind of like, oh, that's how you do it, okay.
What the fuck does she know?
Well, she grew up in a brothel. These other concubines are probably like high noble ladies.
They're concubines because they have sex with the emperor.
Sure,
yeah,
but they
and
don't
she's
know.
upgrading their technique.
They don't know the techniques of how to please
You
a man
said it yourself, Mitz. These ladies aren't that well read.
I gotta tell you, this is a
almost
dark
been hidden
road.
in the books.
This is a real dark road you don't want to go down.
Well, I think it's okay. So the concubines, they are high noble ladies.
Oh my
They're
God.
born to
Review's going
give
so
children
long.
to the emperor, but they may not know how to please.
Yeah,
the emperor.
I understand that, but like, think about it. Mao Mao's 17. She grew up in a brothel. So what's she doing? Like pen and paper, like 2 inches deep from some guy's ball sack while he's balls deep in some chick, and she's like on a notepad writing notes. She's either having underage sex or she's
around. She was just around the
princesses.
Hi,
Someone
8-year-old
getting
girl.
between
Watch me
courtesans
plow
and
this.
concubines.
Watch me
They're
plow
around the
this hooker.
courtesans. I'm pretty sure in a brothel, all they talk about is sex. So she just
right.
hears and she remembers. That's
Okay,
all.
all right.
So, but I'll give it to you. A 17-year-old that does not actually work in that business being brought in as a teacher is kind of weird. But they explain it. Yeah, there's just so many good moments that I love about this show. Not necessarily relating to the mysteries, but they were so good that I actually lied to myself and I thought I loved the mysteries. Overall, I'm gonna give this show 4 Mau Mau's turning into cats being excited over weird fun guy out of 5.
Yay,
All right.
we did it.
Okay.
And that was that. I'm glad that this review turned into. I was afraid of this review, but it turned out to be a good one, I think.
So,
What?
so
Debatable.
easily fooled. Jeez.
You know, I am pretty gullible, but you do lay it on. Like, I cannot imagine that you have this much free time to fool me and everybody else on Discord.
Wow, I'm glad I'm so unpredictable. All right, get us out of here.
Mason?
Oh, I guess it's me. I forgot to change to the color.
Oh.
Thank you. Do you want to do it or you want me to do it? It doesn't matter. Thank you all for listening to episode 729 of the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast. We did end up talking about anime, so thank you for listening. We appreciate you. We love you. Leave a review. Tell your friends. Subscribe if you want that sweet, sweet, juicy bonus content we're about to do. And, yeah, just join the Discord. Let me know if you want to watch Ikusa 2 and 3, or whatever numbers we have left to watch. We love hanging out with you. We will see you again next week for our review of Solo Leveling. So we got all the hot ones coming up. So prepare yourself.
Prepare yourselves to being disappointed, because I heard Solo Leveling is all hype and not substance.
We will see how it compares to this review. I'm sure some of you will be mad. As always, we love to hear it. And we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Toodles.
Bye.